I tell you what, everybody that was expecting Sargon of Akkad tonight, I'd like to sincerely apologize for all of us heathens that had no idea it was Ishtar this weekend and that there are family obligations and everything else going on. But I've got some good news to share with you in just a moment. And before I do that, we're going to start introducing ourselves. We're going to go ahead and start with Holly if we have her. How you doing, Holly? And if not, if she's still working through some technical difficulties, we'll go to Mr. Tigerson. Tell us who you are, Mr. Tigerson, and why you're here.
I'm some guy from the UK who has a runty Twitter account. That's about it, really.
Excellent. How about you, Mr. Doppelganger?
Hello, everybody. Mark is your friendly Santa's little helper to Ogre.
Thank you so much. And how about you, Mr. Britisher?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Britisher. I come from the country where the history is from.
And everybody knows me, and they're used to me talking so much. So I'm just going to say this. We are delighted tonight to have a political activist, Scott Presler. Scott Presler is a human rights activist, the vice chairman of the Virginia Beach Young Republicans. He spent the last 2 years of his life working to defeat Hillary Clinton. So, Mr. Presler, if you'd like to just tell us a bit about who you are in the next couple minutes and let us know just briefly about this journey to defeat this, what I would consider to be a horrible person.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me, Ogre. So I'm Scott Presler. I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and I also am the co-founder of Gays for Trump. We are a national organization of LGBTQ Americans that decided President Trump was the right choice. And so I did spend literally the last 2 years of my life working to defeat Hillary Clinton. I would do it again in a heartbeat. We did voter registration, door knocking, phone calling, social media. You know, now on Twitter, I'm up to 77,000 followers because I have dedicated every fiber of my being to defeating her. And now defeating the Democrats, which the Democrat Party is bordering on socialism and communism. So I'm focusing on 2018. We're already ramping up, and I'm ramping up to help re-elect Trump in 2020. My eyes are on the prize, and I'm clear and decided on my goals. So thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you today. And you know what? I kind of wanted to ask you a few things about the Don Lemon interview. Some of those things we talked about before the show, and I'm sure that everyone else here is champing at the bit to kind of pick into your mind, and we basically want you to take over the helm of this ship as soon as we kind of break the ice here. So I just want to ask you a question.
Go for it.
In my opinion, right now, I won't lie to you. You mentioned it. You have 77,000 followers on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
You're very quick to respond, as you said before the show. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous right now. I'm not even going to try to fake that or lie about it. Were you nervous, or was there something that you did to prepare for the show with Don Lemon that allowed you to conduct yourself in such a fashion?
I told myself, everybody was saying to me that I shouldn't go on the show. They said, Scott, do not go on CNN. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going into the lion's den. These are vipers. They want to take me down. They want to make me look like a fool. This is their opportunity to try to, you know, make it seem like Trump supporters don't know what we're talking about. So I studied. I studied on refugee resettlement. I studied on history. I studied on facts. And I told myself, you have to be a pit bull. You have to go in there with this mindset that you're taking control. You're going to be dominant. You're going to be in charge. And honestly, that's exactly what I did. I went in there with the facts, and Mr. Don Lemon tried to talk over me. He tried to talk over me, especially when I was talking about Sharia law. And Sharia law is one of my hot button issues because I am a gay man. I don't want people coming into my country that are going to try to murder me or hurt women or hurt children. And so when Don Lemon tried to stop my colleague, in that video, I shut him down and I let him know exactly what Sharia law is. And the best part about it, the entire reason why I went on CNN in the first place, is because these are people that don't normally listen to a Republican. And here they are listening to a gay Republican talking about Sharia law. And that was live. I was able to get across live on CNN exactly what I wanted to say. And his face at the end of that video, he looked defeated. He looked like, oh God, he got across exactly the point he wanted to make. And so
Not only that, Mr. Presler, but I tell you what, you made him go longer than he wanted to in a very artful way. He wanted to go to break, and you basically very artfully called him out and called his hand, and he stayed there longer than he wanted to. I got to give it to you on that one.
Well, do you feel like they give you more of a voice, even though they wouldn't normally listen to you, because you're a gay Republican talking about Sharia law? Do you feel like they gimmicked you a little bit? Did it bother you?
No, not at all. He clearly didn't want to talk about Sharia law. And what I did is I didn't let him overtalk me. I overspoke him, but I did it in a nice way. I said, well, actually, I'm going to correct you on something. And I went in through that. Now, do I believe that to a certain extent I have cachet because I'm a gay Republican? Yes, I do. But for that role, I don't believe I was a gimmick per se, because what I ended up doing was I made Don Lemon look like a fool. So if they wanted to make me look like a gimmick, I actually turned it around and used it as capital. So that was a false move or a wrong move on their part.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that you were gimmicky. I was asking if you thought that's what they were trying to do to you.
To a certain extent, yeah. I think they wanted to take a Trump supporter and make them look bad. And they were going to use me as an example because I'm a gay Republican, and they were going to use the other woman from Ohio because she was a Ohio Republican. So I think they were trying to take me down.
So what they were trying to do effectively was kind of show you up to be a hypocrite. That basically you're gay, but you're a Republican, and those two things can't be one and the same thing.
Exactly. They believe that they're mutually exclusive. But here I am coming on there saying, look, we need to protect LGBTQs, we need to protect women, we need to protect children. So I come out of this as a human rights activist that I am, and Don Lemon comes out looking foolish. So it was just great.
How long do you think it'll be before? Oh, someone else wants to go. Go ahead, because I have one follow-up question after that.
In these modern times, where mostly due to people like Milo Yiannopoulos, gay men, specifically white gay people, are gradually losing their oppression points, gradually, and they're going to be the next to go, I think.
I mean, it's how you look to identify, because I mean, really, you could look at the color of my skin, but nowadays with the Democrat Party, I can identify as a butterfly. I can identify as whatever I want to be if I want to be a black woman. So really, the Democrat Party is opening up a whole new can of worms for anybody. And the best part is what they have created is they've created this monster. If you disagree with the Democrat Party, you are a racist, sexist, chauvinist, Islamophobic, xenophobic, bigoted, whatever. But the Democrats have created a tool so that we can actually use those words against them. If someone says, oh, you're just a bigoted white person, I can say to them, well, actually, I don't identify as white, and I don't appreciate your transphobic, bigoted behavior. So we can actually use the tools the Democrat uses against us.
Good old Rachel.
Troll
Good
the
old Rachel.
snowflakes.
Good old Rachel's doing the good work for us. Good old Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel Dolezal, of course.
Dolezal, whatever her name is, yeah.
I just realized I was trying to put this up and it's backwards, but we see this wonderful I don't know if we'd call this this isn't a meme. This is actually you here with some nice people here. And it says, this is the face of Make America Great Again. We see a gay man, a gay white man. I don't know if these people are gay or not, but it looks like a Latina, black person, and a Middle Easterner. I'm not sure, but it looks like a wonderful, happy American family here to me. And thank you, Tigers. And that was my question. Anybody else before we move on from the Don Lemon interview?
Explain this picture, please. So this photo right here is from this past weekend. So I went down to Georgia. I live in Virginia Beach, but we are having a special election in Georgia for the 6th district because President Trump picked Tom Price as his Health and Human Services director. And so that seat has been opened up so that anybody who knows anybody living in northern Atlanta, please vote Bob Gray for Congress. But in this picture, you have me on the left-hand side, and then you have Yanni, Muhammad, and Trina. Now, Muhammad actually messaged me on Twitter. He is a part of Muslims for Trump. So in this picture, you have a veteran for Trump, who's Trina Phillips on the right-hand side. You have a Muslim American, you have his wife, and you have a gay American. And we're all together in unity, united behind making America great again, behind President Trump, and behind Bob Gray for Congress in the 6th district. And nothing is more beautiful than this, because the liberal media tells me that I can't be a Republican. The liberal media tells us that Muslims can't be Republican. The liberal media tells us that women can't be Republican. And here we have united together, because that's what we're in it for. We are in this for America. We are proud to be American. We want to preserve our country and our values. And so it's just a really cool moment.
My goodness, I can see what we want to do now is just get you talking, sir. You're very eloquent. You know how to do it. So I would say, unless there's something else someone wants to say about Don Lemon, because listen, if I had my way, I would want to delve into that particular topic for about 17 hours, because I've seen many people go on, and I'm done at this point, about bragging on you about that.
Thank you.
I've seen Don make fools of people. But the way that you did that, like you said to Amanda, and I'm sure she watched that clip, you did it in a way that really made him come off like a jerk. It looked to me like they cut you off. And one final question before we move off, and I'll probably pass it to the Brit or to anyone else. We'll start with the Britisher and then go down the line and see if anyone has a specific question for you. Did they ever ask you back on CNN, sir?
Since my interview with Don Lemon, they have not asked me back on CNN.
I wonder why. I just, something is eluding me. So that said, Britisher, if there's something else you'd like to steer the ship in a direction, we'll let the captain take the helm.
Well, what I would like to ask is, given that given that you've got the Republican background and you're gay, and we alluded to that fact that they were trying to suggest that those two things are mutually exclusive. Was there a time where you actually did sympathize with the Democrats, or was there a time where you were a Democrat before eventually you kind of realized the madness of it all? A bit like Dave Rubin, perhaps, if you know what I mean.
I was wondering the same thing.
Sure. Well, I'd say my story is much more even interesting than that. So I've always been right-leaning. I've always been conservative, but I was always just a Republican. I was just Scott the Republican. It wasn't until that fatal night when the Pulse nightclub had a radical Islamic terrorist kill 49 people, shed blood at a nightclub, that I came out as gay. And that was the moment when I said, look, I've got to stand up. I have to fight. Enough hiding, enough of this. I'm going to come out as a gay Republican. Now, what was more interesting is when I came out, Trump supporters embraced me fully. They said, you're with us. We're united. Trump said he wanted to protect you. He wanted to protect the LGBTQ community, and he even said that during his acceptance speech. And the interesting thing is, then, and to this day, the Democrat Party rejected me. I had people send me death threats. I still get death threats from Democrats. And one thing that I'll never forget is this Democrat with a picture of him and Hillary Clinton in his Twitter profile told me, I hope ISIS throws you off of the building. But here we have a party that is about love trumps hate.
Mercy.
So effectively, the fact that you're gay but a Republican is kind of seen by many Democrats as the equivalent of your being an apostate in an Islamic world.
Precisely. If you are a minority, a woman, a gay person that votes Republican, that is the tantamount, like the Britisher just said, to being an apostate within Islam. And so therefore you must be destroyed. And people try to malign my character. I mean, they come at me every single day on Twitter, but I have fun with it. People say mean things to me all day long, but I don't let it affect me. So for example, if someone says on Twitter, we need to get that rapist out of the White House, I will very quickly and swiftly reply back to them and say, you leave Bill Clinton out of this, exclamation point. And
Wow.
There you go,
it's
troll 'em.
hilarious because I actually get a lot of my fuel for fire from our president. I think our president is brilliant, and he's the king of all trolls. We're talking about the man that set up the media, that set up Rachel Maddow. And also, Rachel Maddow, if you're watching this, darling, I would like to thank you for proving that Trump has paid 25% of his taxes and that he does pay millions of dollars worth of taxes. So thank you.
Well said, sir. Sorry, that was great, man. That just pumped me up right there. Thank you, Rachel.
I just want to jump in. Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that I just wanted to say great comments about especially in your thoughts about Hillary Clinton. That's great.
Thank you. Nice to have you.
Yeah, and we'll let you go on. Holly, if you have a question now that you're here, this is
Yeah, please. hit me.
Holly Seeliger, Zoo Politicon, the
Yes.
political animal. If you haven't already checked her out, it's because you don't have a life. So go check her out. I'm going to put up a link over here in the sidebar, in the side chat.
So, who originally contacted you about getting on television? And did you think that was real?
Actually, they called my home phone.
Wow.
CNN called my home phone, which I don't know how they got my number, and they just left a message at my house. And I did think it was real because, you know, I called them. I waited 15 minutes because I was like, no, I'm gonna let them wait a little bit. I'm not gonna give them what they want right away. And so I called them and set it up. And actually, that day, I believe, we set up the interview for me to go to DC. They sent a driver for me. A driver literally came and picked me up from my home. I felt like a celebrity. It was actually really cool. They took me to DC. I did the very, very short interview where I got to see kind of the inner workings of CNN and how they bring people in as guest speakers. And I got to meet the woman who was the former Bernie Sanders spokesperson. So that was actually quite interesting before they went on and had their yelling match. And then the Uber driver drove me home. Now, the interesting thing was the day after CNN, RT, Russia Today, actually called me and they did the same thing. And it was really weird because I was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm blowing up and I'm having all of these different news outlets that want to talk to me. But I took them right away because, you know, I have a very important message that I want to get out there that I'm proud of President Trump. I am a gay American. I am a Republican. And I'm here to make a difference in my community. I'm a millennial. I want more young people to get politically active. I want more young people to wake up and have patriotism in their hearts. I want people to be proud to be an American.
So would it be fair to say that you are a social conservative who just happens to be gay?
Not necessarily. I would say that I'm more socially liberal, but I'm also very physically conservative. I mean, here's what I stand for. If you want to know what Scott Presler stands for, I believe that our veterans...
The Presler Manifesto.
Yes, please. Our veterans come before illegal aliens. Americans come before refugees. I want low taxes. I want to know what money that we're spending taxes on. I want a strong military. I want peace through strength. I want to carry a big stick and be able to use that big stick if we need to. I want strong education system. I worked in an elementary school. Our education is failing. I don't want minorities to be disenfranchised by having to be stuck in a failing school. So therefore, I agree with school choice. I believe in a strong, secure border to keep out people that want to harm us, especially with how many people have been raped and killed by illegal aliens. It does happen. I want all of these things, but the thing that I want most is I want the American people to be taken care of before anybody else. And let me tell you, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with patriotism. There is nothing wrong with putting the American people first. I'm an American. My allegiance is to the American people, my brothers and sisters, before anybody else. And that's what it comes down to.
You know, I always feel the need when somebody says that, you know, minorities need school choice to point out that it's about the poverty line, not about skin color when it comes to that. Because my own mother got in trouble with the state for pretending that me and my siblings lived at my great grandparents' house so that we could go to a better school because the school we were in was horrible. And we had to wake up at 4 every morning and go to catch a bus to go to a school.
You're right. No, Holly, I agree with you. And I do want to add on that. It does. We don't want to disenfranchise impoverished families. The only reason why I bring up race is because the elementary school I was working at, for example, was 70% Hispanic, 10% white, 10% Arabic, and 10% black. And so we're talking about a majority minority school. And I did actually have to learn Spanish, and I did actually have to learn a little bit of Arabic to be able to work competently at that school. But Holly's right. School choice, education can transform lives. I'm going to say that again. Education is the one deciding factor that can remove poverty from our country. Every child deserves a good education. And it doesn't just mean throwing money at the system. It means giving everybody a fair chance. And right now, kids don't have a fair chance.
And having married parents. That's pretty good too.
I won't disagree to that.
No,
Well, the number one deciding factor for poverty is a single parent home. That's period. And if you want to go to the depths of the depths, it's a mother at home with kids. That's just statistics. And everyone heard me say before the show, there's liars, damn liars, and statisticians. But the statistics say that that's the worst. So
well, also,
I don't want to steer it off track. So go ahead, Amanda, get us back on track.
I was actually steering with you off the track and saying
that's fine.
It's also cognitively and physically your development. I went to college for a year for early childhood development. That's what most of my classes were in, because that's what I was interested in. And it's true that you need both parents psychologically. The same-sex parent is the greatest influencer for a child, but you also need that opposite sex parent because it shows them what they should be seeking in a partner, what they want to look for in a relationship. It's a very important dynamic. So sorry, I was steering with you off track there.
Oh, that's cool. In fact, we can stay where we want.
Anyway, if I can perhaps cut in and sort of try and bring it back a bit more on track. Given that we were, when I said socially conservative, it happens to be gay.
Yeah.
You said, well, perhaps you would sort of see yourself as more socially liberal in some ways. So in what ways would you see yourself as can you sort of name anything specifically that would sort of mark you out as a social liberal?
Well, I mean, I'd actually really like to move away from saying socially liberal when in regards to the LGBTQ community. And I'd like to make one thing really clear. I'm thankful for what Democrats have done for gay rights thus far. I'm thankful for that because let's be real, it hasn't been the Republican Party. But we have come to the point today in America where the Democrat Party is embracing refugees. The Democrat Party is importing people into the country who do not care for gays, do not care for women's rights, and do not care for children's rights. We're talking about a culture where gay people are killed, where women are stoned for even being raped, and for where children are raped and child rights are occurring. So the Democrat Party is embracing now this radical ideology. And so therefore, I do not believe the Democrat Party can really be called a champion for gay rights. That is past. The Democrat Party can no longer be a champion for gays, for women, or for children because it embraces this radical ideology and imports this culture into our country. Now, what I really would like to do moving forward is I want to see more reform push forward for medical marijuana. I believe that cannabidiol oil, where there is no THC present in the chemical and the oil, is used to help veterans. I want cannabidiol oil to be able to help people suffering from disorders. And so that's something that I would like to see moving forward. And of course, I am a gay man, so I'm satisfied with my ability to be able to one day get married. So I want to move away from saying liberal because the Democrat Party no longer has chains around the gay community. Many gays like myself are waking up and we're coming over to the Republican Party. And in fact, many lawmakers on the Republican side are now coming around to cannabidiol oil as well. So we're coming to the point where the Republican Party is embracing some of these ideals and ideologies. And I think that the Republican Party is going to continue to gain more and more, especially young people. So we'll kind of move away from labels for a little bit.
I won't press you on the medical marijuana thing, but
yeah,
I will say that the guy that's in charge of the laws in the United States right now, Jeff Sessions, he's got some crazy ideas. But what I feel is, I think what I'm getting from you, if you're in your bedroom, it's not my business what you're doing.
Correct.
If you want to have a partner that is in life with you and you would like to get the same tax break that I've enjoyed for these 23 years with my wife, well, I believe you deserve that. If I want to smoke a little thinking weed in a legal state that I live in, or really in my mind in any state, or if I wanted to shoot heroin, or if I want, I don't want to go off on a nut. But all I'll say is, my goodness, when we start telling people what to put in their body.
Your mic's cutting out, Ogre.
Oh, I thought it was my phone that did it.
Me too.
No.
It was probably the CIA.
But
It
I wanted
always
to
is.
say the Democratic Party, it seems that they're going so far to be accepting that they'll accept anything. They're accepting stuff that's fake now as if it was real. They bought into free bleeding, and they bought in so far into Clover gender and stuff that it's actually becoming a haven for pedophiles. And I was wondering how you felt about that, because they're trying to tack themselves onto the LGBT community.
Sure. Well, I'd like to say a couple of things. I want to make 3 important points. When people ask me what I see when I have the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party lined up side by side, I say the Democrat Party is about dependence. It's about power. It's about control. They want the government to have your life in control, tell you what you can, what you cannot do, etc. The Republican Party is about independence. You should be able to control your own life, have as limited as government as the Constitution allows, so you can have, your freedoms, etc. Now, I'd like to also say that I have written about this. In California, they have legalized, for all intents and purposes, legalized child prostitution. So this is, and the reason why they did it was to actually help against prostitution, but it's actually a logistical nightmare. They have said that under 18, you cannot be charged for prostitution if a minor is engaged in that form of business. So
But
this
they
is
do
something-
charge the John, or the pimp, I mean.
Exactly, they charge the pimp, but they don't realize that this is actually making it easier for pimps to pimp out
Oh,
children,
yeah.
oppress young girls and boys.
I have
So-
my pedophile bell ready just in case this goes more than 2 minutes from where it is right now. But that said, if we give people free reign to do anything, so carry this on, but I'll only let the pedophile thing go on so long. Not that I have a problem with, but this, when I hear this stuff, it makes me sick. That's what I'm saying. I tried to
Well,
do some
me
stuff on
too.
Pizzagate, and it's
Same
like too
here.
much.
Yeah.
Me too, but it is a genuine question, because they've gone so far as to making this a joke on 4chan and stuff.
Oh
and
no,
it has
I loved
become a
your
real thing.
question too, Amanda. I'm not saying anything bad about what you said. I'm just saying everybody knows me. I broke the last wine glass I had for a dinger when we had Razor Fist on, and it just wouldn't get. So I'm not. All I'll say is if we could wrap it up on this and then move on to some more political, but just this political. And Amanda, you made a really good point with the free bleeding. Holy crap! When do we go away from fake news and realize that the only way to really get real news right now is for Donnie Ipso to get stopped by Tucker Carlson? That's about the only way to find out what fake is from real. We had Britisher, without rambling on too long. Britisher, remember you did the thing about the male confessional booth, and it was so real in our present age that I watched the week that was, and I was like, oh yeah, imagine that, they're doing that now. And then you were the one that came out with the redaction saying, well, life is imitating art right now.
Yeah, it was actually a satire that someone had put out, and it was such a realistic satire that it fooled many in the media, who then reported it as a real thing. So obviously, having seen that in media news, I then reported it as news, only for some very observant viewer of mine to kind of then point out, actually, there has been somebody who's found out that this is a satire. But the reason it was so believable was because it just seemed like another one of those over-the-top university social justice projects, whereby they were basically saying that the University of Regina in Canada was having some kind of toxic masculinity project, and in it there would be masculinity masculinity sin confession booths, in which males could go and actually confess their sins of masculinity. And you just thought, that sounds credible. In the current climate,
Did that turn out to be not
this
true?
sounds credible.
Did that turn out to be not actually true?
No, it wasn't true.
Oh, I
It
thought-
was actually a satire
I
someone
thought
had
that
put
was
out.
And if we can, I want to
Blimey.
stay on this track and say, Scott, look, Mr. Presler, you listen. I don't know how to say this, and I don't want to offend anyone, but remember, offense can only be taken, not given. But if I was to run into you when I was jogging down the beach, because I run also, I work out, and I was to see you with your phone in your hand, like you were saying, it, I would not assume, because assuming makes an ass of you and me, that you were gay. You would have to tell me, because you're big, you're buff, you're tough. You don't appear to be, anything that the stereotypical. So along those lines, do you see how is this affecting you? The unreality of reality. We had a question before about the Milo effect from Tigerson. Do you see that pretty soon it may be that it won't matter if you're gay, they'll call you a homophobe?
I mean, they already have. What I've been called, I get called, besides the death threats, a self-hating, homophobic. They always like to call out my whiteness. They always say that, you know, it's only white gays that are gay. No, they even say that about me, that I'm homophobic even though I'm gay, only because I don't want the gay community to have our heads cut off or to be thrown off of a building by radical Islamic terrorists or be shot up at a nightclub. But clearly I'm the bad guy because I want to protect women, children, and gay people. But yes, they already call me all of those things.
Well, and anybody that thinks he's joking, this is from Doppelganger right here. Anybody that thinks that, you know, he's just making this stuff up off the top of his head, I can't take this name off. I'm going to say right now, do not text or don't do anything with this person because you see their name here. It's just a troll. Don't feed the troll. But it's a Scott Presler. Scott, just do us all a favor. Go play in some highway traffic. Thanks in advance. Man, come on. Give me a freaking break. This man's out here. That makes me a little sick also, Scott. I mean, give me a break. You're working very hard, obviously. And to hear this kind of thing.
Well, and you know, it's especially hurtful because, you know, I don't want to tap myself on the back, but I don't think you could find a nicer guy. Like, I legitimately care. The reason why I'm doing what I do is because I love my country so much. I really do. I want every single person in our country to succeed. I don't care what you are. I don't care about your gender, your religion, your sexuality. I want you to do well. You're my brother. You're my sister. And so for people to have that such divisive nature where they literally wish death upon me or wish for me to get injured, it's honestly something that I can't even wrap my head around because I would never say such a thing to someone else. Even Hillary Clinton, I would never say such a thing.
The thing about those kind of people, Scott, is that they are so very, very unhappy with them.
Oh, she was saying they're so very unhappy with themselves that they want to take it out on you, I'm sure, but she'll be right back. And I just want to say that, you know, in fact, is that, nope, there she is. So continue. I think I continue your thought, but go right ahead. You said they are so very, very.
Yeah, sorry, there's a storm going on here at my house. So I keep getting kicked out. But they're so very, very unhappy with themselves that they have to try to make you unhappy to make them feel better.
True. And my message to anybody, I kind of grew up, you know, getting made fun of, getting picked on, etc. So it gave me very thick skin. So to anybody watching, I just want to let you know that when people say these rude things to you, don't take it to heart. Use it as fuel to fire. The best revenge on this planet is success. And I'm successful. I'm working for a national organization. I helped elect President Trump. I helped defeat Hillary Clinton. And I now have 77,000 followers on Twitter. So to anybody out there, just know that you can accomplish literally whatever you want to accomplish. My dreams are coming true because I was determined and I was passionate and I'm a hard worker. So, you know, I like to think of myself as the American success story. I got what I wanted and I'm only started.
You are, sir. You just filled my sails full of wind. Anyone else? And I'll say we're going to go in some different directions, but we got some new people here. Cabbage Patch Bastard. He's been with me from the beginning. I know the room's kind of full, Mr. Presler, but you're a popular guy, man. So I'm going to shut up for 10 minutes and let's go down the line here. So just keep track of where you are. If you see yourself on the screen there, I'm going to shut up for 10 minutes. And I would like to start with, because Amanda, I think you just asked a question or two, but we'll stop with you. Let's start with Holly. Go to Mark, then go to the Britisher, then go to Tigerson, then back to Amanda Wolfchild. And by the end of that, if there's any time left, I might have a question or two for you. So let's pick that up, Miss Holly. If you have something burning in your heart, give it to us.
Yeah, great. So I used to be a Democrat, and I left the party during Obama's administration, but it just started to really annoy me with the whole social justice warrior and the assumption that Democrats control every sort of minority group, you know, whether you're a woman or whether you're gay. They just assume that they control your thoughts because obviously they represent you. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about how perhaps maybe how the gay community tries to understand you, or how gay Democrats try to understand you, or if they just don't, or if you've opened people's minds. I hope you have.
Definitely. Well, on behalf of the GOP / libertarians, whatever, thank you, for coming over more to the right. I've noticed this not only with the LGBTQ community, but I do want to say this about the Black community as well. Whenever I go out to events and I see the Democrat Party campaigning, I'm not even making this up. The Democrat staffers will see a Black person or a brown person or a skin color that's darker than mine, and they will immediately approach them. And I want people to know that that is extreme racism in its form. To look at somebody's skin color and to automatically assume how they vote is racist. I can't say it any other way. Now, gay Democrats, they haven't been extremely nice to me. Some listen to me. A common theme that I've seen is people do agree with me that radical Islamic terror is a threat to our country, and that's something that I talk about all the time. If you want to look what's going to happen to America if we don't stop it, look no further than Europe. And I want people to really, I'm sorry, I know the Britishers here with us, but look at what's happening in Westminster. Look at what's happening to gays in Europe. Look at what's happening to women being raped in the streets. I don't want that to come to America, and that's why I'm fighting.
Scott, what about Chechnya?
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for bringing up Chechnya. I just wrote a letter to the editor that was published in the Virginian Pilot the other day. Now, Chechnya, whose president was nominated by President Putin of Russia, their country has installed the first concentration camp since Nazi Germany and since Fidel Castro's Cuba. Now, if anybody doesn't know, in Nazi Germany, they not only imprisoned and put into concentration camps Jews, but they put in homosexuals as well. And we had to wear pink upside down triangles to show that we were gay. And Fidel Castro, he had prison work camps called UMAPs for gay people as well. And now we have, thank you for pulling up my letter, but this is actually not exactly what I wrote. They altered it a little bit. We have now, history is repeating itself.
So do you want me to tweet that before I let you finish? Do you want me to put that out in the side chat? Because I just got that from my one of my producers, and I just wanted to share it. If you don't want me to share that, I won't until I get the original.
No, please do. It basically sums up what I said. But the fact of the matter,
continue. Yeah, continue, sir.
Thank you. The fact of the matter is that people have to study history, because if you don't study history, it's bound to repeat itself. And look at what's happening. Radical Islam is on the rise around the world. History is repeating itself. Gay people are now being persecuted. History is repeating itself. Women's rights are being violated around the world. History is repeating itself. So it behooves us to study what happened for the rise to come about, how it was stopped, and what actions we can take now to make sure that we nip this in the bud. Because I don't want America to become this radical ideologue country, like in Middle Eastern countries and even in Chechnya. Chechnya is a Muslim majority country.
Absolutely, and of course, where did there was a guy who particularly left that exposed it all, and where did he flee to? He went to a European country because he needed to get away from that kind of level of oppression, and yet we now have things like LGBTQ against Islamophobia. I mean, the hypocrisies are just so thick.
It really is, and I understand. Like, I want diversity. I want cultural, I want people to come together, and I want us to celebrate what makes us different. But we also have to be cognizant of the reality of the situation. We need to be cognizant and come out, and every single person needs to say, female genital mutilation is wrong. Child marriages is wrong. Gay people being persecuted and killed is wrong. Women being raped and being told when and if they can leave the house is wrong. And if you believe in all of those things, then you need to stand with me and stand with us against this radical ideology that is transforming and taking over our world. That is the reality of the situation.
A lot of the main people in... Oh, someone's...
Yeah, it sounded like some kind of echo or whatever. Oh,
I think it's
yeah, it is. All right. No, that couldn't be me, but it could be. I don't think
Scott.
Yeah, and that said, look, what we're gonna do is, because I want to keep it on track, but Amanda just popped in. So if you look in the sidebar, we see the order of things, just so everybody wouldn't have to think about it. We can stay on the Chechnya idea. Thank you very much for that, Cabbage Patch.
Sure.
Or we can go in any direction we want from here, because we can see this just open the floodgates of ideas. Why is it? Look, I don't want to ask that. I was about ready to ask a very leading question. So instead of doing that, Cabbage, thank you so much for getting us into that. Cabbage is one of the deepest thinkers I know. I just put it like that. He doesn't just think about stuff for a minute. He'll think about it for a month, a year, a millennia, it seems like, and then tell you what he thinks. So that said, this is good about Chechnya. What else do we have, folks? And I believe, Tiger, you were speaking up. But if you have a question relating to this or something else, go right ahead, and we'll go right down the line, y'all see.
It wasn't specifically about Chechnya, although I did hear about that, yeah. But it's just most of the main people, specifically in the UK, who are targeting and being outspoken specifically about Sharia law, in the end it has to be gay people, because a lot of these lefties are not going to listen to, Tommy Robinson tried to come out and talk about this, but he obviously got shut down as some sort of straight white cis blah blah blah. So you have people like Anne-Marie Waters and this other guy called Tommy English, who's getting a bit of hype as well, and they're all gay, and it's just a lot of it has to come from these gay people, because it's not going to be listened to by anyone else really.
Well, and I will tell you something. I'm sorry, I thought you were finished. I will tell you something cool. To anybody that knows anybody in France, we are having the elections for president, the first round, on April 23rd. Now, the interesting thing, and the entire reason why I'm bringing it up, is because Marine Le Pen, who is the front national candidate and who's very hardlined on the radical ideology and radical Islam, she is actually gaining a lot of gay votes. Gay people are actually coming over in hordes.
I did see that, yeah. I did see that.
Yes. And so people are starting to wake up. And it's just unfortunate that we have to have Tel Aviv and San Bernardino and Orlando and Nice and Paris and Brussels. It's so sad that we have to have attack after attack after attack on our people before they start to wake up. But I'm proud that these people finally are seeing the light and they're getting it.
I'm actually really surprised that Le Pen has so much support. Not necessarily amongst gays, but just young people in general, because young people are very who want to be trendy and be cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then that tends towards left-leaning politics, and
think of it.
Still surprising, really. Yeah.
What is more trendy and cool than standing up for human rights?
Indeed.
I think that's trendy and cool.
But for people, especially in England, that's often done through a left-wing lens, though. It's just a bit sad.
She was really smart to pull off that badass move. Like, it was all over Twitter. I didn't even know who she was before I saw that, and I thought it was fucking amazing. Where they told her to put on the headscarf, and she just kind of gives him a look and turns around and walks away.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
The hero.
I mean, she worked hard to soften the image of the National Front, because obviously it used to be very hostile to that sort of thing, and she actually expelled her own father in the end, so she definitely worked hard to soften the image. And
the problem with her, though, is
be pragmatic about things. Sorry.
And they've popped up this sort of fake candidate, which is meant to be. I mean, this is what I don't get. They say it's populist vote. Well, isn't that the whole point of democracy? That it's meant to be the popular person that gets in. I mean, isn't that what democracy is? It's
sort of that, but you try and shy away from making it mob rule. But it's not. People, all the information that
the mobs depend also. And I mean, I just watched about 3 hours worth of video today before I went and plowed my field with the rototiller, because it made me happy, and watched Antifa get Their hats handed to them because Scott, Mr. Presler, your friend's eluding my mind, but I believe he has a radio show. He got hit on the head with a stick when y'all were out just doing your thing, and I believe he's healed up from that. But right now, before I go there, I got to say that the people in the room right now watching us are the reason we're here. And Philip Daniel, he's on the show very often. He's a very wonderful legal mind, up and coming. He's a clerk for a judge that no one will name, including him. And he has a question for you. He says, Scott, are you familiar with the BS argument from the left? And that's subjective, if it's BS or not. We'll let you decide that. But are you familiar with the argument from the left that everything that the West suffers from Islam is karmic retribution for the sins of colonialism?
I mean, I haven't heard that one exactly. I've heard everyone say that the West is Islamophobic. And I've heard that people say that, the colonials, killed the Native Americans and that we were illegal to begin with. But that is definitely quote unquote BS. And why would these people want us to suffer? Well, it's actually quite interesting because the West suffers from Islamism, which is karmic retribution. That in itself says that Islam is unhealthy for society. So it's an interesting argument to make if you think about it.
And that's a good answer. But I'll say this, before I look down at our side chat, I realized that Mr. Doppelganger has a question on the topic that we were discussing before. So if it's not too much, and I doubt it is with your, you seem like a very astute young man. Dop, what was it that you wanted to bring us back there where we were on?
Mr. Presler, I wanted to ask you, maybe expand a little bit on the problem of Islamic persecution of gays, women, and other. Namely, what would it take actually for the society to kind of switch back the viewpoint and realize that there is a serious problem and we can't simply wait it out? Can there be just one singular event that could probably polarize the opinion, or do we have to suffer years and years in the future so it slowly turns around?
I think it's two things. I think that Islam needs reform. Christianity had its reform. They have the Old Testament and they have the New Testament. Christianity had a reform movement. And I know for a fact that there is a reform movement going on right now, that there are Muslims across the country who do want to see Islam reform to take out, things like female genital circumcision and to take out things like gay persecution, etc. But it's not only going to be the reform movement, but where are all of the peaceful Muslims speaking out against these injustices? We need the silent, peaceful majority of Muslims to come out and say this is wrong, that we stand against these injustices against humanity. Now,
Mr. Presler, I would just say that, do you really believe that there is a silent majority that would do that? Because whenever I don't want to lead you on that. Do you believe that there really is a silent majority that feel that way?
Well, let me put it this way. In Islam, if you leave the religion, you're an apostate. In Islam, you are not supposed to reform, and if you try to, let's just say that's bad. That's haram. So it's very difficult. We need to, as a community, thank and praise when people are trying to reform Islam, because what they are doing is actually extremely brave. It is actually extremely courageous for them to be taking these actions. So that's how I feel about it. Reform, people speak out against these crimes against humanity.
Okay, I'm not gonna press you much on that. I will say that we need to bounce to the Brit and then to Holly, and that, like I said in the side chat, if Amanda or I want to pipe in, obviously we will do that. And then after Holly, Cab, I know you probably have something. So Britt, do you have something for us on this topic or another?
Well, one question I would like to ask is, given that you were talking about, persecution of gays and whatever, I mean, are we now at a position in your mind whereby the persecution of gays can now be deemed to be at an end in the West? Is this really a question of persecution of gays in other countries and no longer a question of persecution of gays here? I mean, do you still see gays in any way being persecuted in the Western world?
Definitely. And I mean, the clearest example that I have is Orlando. I mean, it's how you look at it. Do I have every right that a heterosexual person has? Yes, I have every other right. I have the exact same rights. But are we not importing a culture into Western countries that is then going to try to take away my rights? So therefore, I am still under persecution, as are Christians, as are Jews, as are Buddhists, as are Hindus, as are all non-Muslims, as are women, as are children. I don't want to be singled out as the only one under persecution. It's not just me.
Yes, I know what you mean, but what I mean is, in that regard, the problem therefore is with an alien attitude being imported.
Correct.
But if it were not for that, would you actually see the kind of evolution of gay rights to have reached its zenith? That it's basically,
Yes.
it is now where it ought to be.
Yes, except I guess one could argue that now the new battle is going to be for transgender rights. But honestly, I don't even want to go there. I'm not transgender, so I'm not the best person to talk about those issues. But to an extent, yes, I believe that right now we are at the pinnacle point where if an alien culture were not being imported into the United States, then yes, there would be nothing else for gays to fight for. And in fact, that's one argument that I use for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the only Republican candidate in history who has been a supporter of the gay community. And so therefore, it would behoove any gay person to support him in 2020, etc., because they have everything else that they need.
Right
Now,
in the RNC like a stud, man. He was waving that flag, man.
No, so what I mean is, if it weren't for the Islamic issue that you highlight,
then yes.
would you actually feel would effectively then be time for the gay campaigners to effectively, take up their banners and go home? Because one of the problems we have with all these kind of campaign movements, I mean, just look at feminism, is they don't seem to have a cutoff point at which they actually cease campaigning, if you know what I mean.
Correct.
Well, but I mean, you see, like Scott is saying, with the gay rights movement, the majority of them are actually doing what the feminists aren't, and they're speaking out against Islam, which is the fight now. Like, feminists, you want to fight for feminism, go over to Islamic countries and fight for feminism. You don't see them doing that, but you do see people like Scott sitting here talking out against it.
But Scott, don't you think the gay movement was like, they keep talking about appropriation. Don't you think that the gay movement's now been appropriated in terms of its validity over to the trans group? And so there is also this idea that you can conflate, gay people as just LGBTQ and just keep on adding letters ad infinitum until, you so-called have so much diversification, nobody knows what the hell they are.
That's what I kind of meant about the pedos earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotten to the point where, honestly, it's really confusing even for me. People ask me all the time, they're like, Scott, what is the LGBTQ, IAPD? Are there 27 genders? It's gotten to the point where, gosh, it sounds like they're making things up. Like, I can't even keep up with it. I don't have time. I don't have patience. I'm focused on the most important things right now.
Exactly, and doesn't it?
Education, taxes, military. But yes, I do think that the gay community is being used, and I do think that gay people are automatically seen as Democrat, and they're supposed to just stay on the Democrat plantation and do as they're told. 100%.
Yes, comply to my diversity.
Exactly. Comply to my diversity, you bigot. That's their motto.
And the world, it really has gone so crazy that everybody has trouble distinguishing what's a Poe and what's real anymore.
Oh my gosh. Well, you hit the nail on the head, Holly. I believe that is Holly. Look at
I'm Amanda.
Media. We don't even know what's true and false in media anymore. And here you have Alex Jones's show, InfoWars. That is what we have become. We have become InfoWars, where people, it doesn't even matter if something is true or false anymore. It matters who gets out the message first. And that is why it is important that we're on this show having a real discussion about policy and issues. And that's why I'm asking these people that are sending in questions to us to become citizen journalists. I need you to do fact checking. I need you to do research. I need you to post on social media and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And I need you to call out people when they are telling untruths.
Here, here.
The media is no longer serving the media. The media is serving itself and corrupt politicians and its special interest donors. We need citizen journalists like Mike Cernovich. We need these people on our social media platforms to get the word out there, because the media is selling us down the river.
Here, here. I
Well,
can't.
I think it was Lionel on Lionel Nation who some time ago sort of brought up this point which made my head spin at the time, when he said if you go back 5 years and you would have suggested to anybody that a little site called WikiLeaks would have greater credibility than, say, CNN, anybody would have laughed you out of the room.
Indeed.
But by now, that seems to be the case.
But they did it to themselves. They have no one else to blame but themselves.
Well,
Because
and
they're
also,
so blatantly lying.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was shopping at Walmart. Yes, I shop at Walmart, and I'm darn proud of it. And you know those rag mag magazines that always say the weirdest things, like Obama's grandmother was connected to whatever? You know, they never make any sense, and they mostly tell falsities. Well, this was right before the November election, and I'm looking at this rag mag. Hillary Clinton, ties to foreign donors, and it said something else that was true. And I'm going, wow, what a world I live in when mainstream media tells lies to me and these rag magazines tell me the truth. That's what our media has become.
Well, yeah, we see that. In fact, Dob just mentioned in the side chat that we got to remember that it's okay for the media to have the who was that doppelganger? Do you remember the actual person that said that on air? It was a I can't remember his name. Dark hair.
Just a yellow
It was
journalist.
a woman. It was a woman.
Yeah, just
Blonde
another
woman.
yellow. No, well, it was several, but he's right. It was just another yellow journalist. So along these lines, and on any line, I got to say, Miss Holly, you've been so quiet.
Cuomo or something like that he was called on CNN, and he basically told people that they weren't allowed to view WikiLeaks themselves, but they could get the information through CNN.
Yeah, and what a joke. I know Miss Holly does have something. She's been so patient, quiet. She is kind of like our other guest of honor, Mr. Presler. I follow this lady, and she was so kind to fill in for one of our panel members, Day is Dead. So, Miss Holly, you have something else?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what your next plans are. I mean, you're just so eloquent. I'm wondering if you want to run for office. I mean, you could rule the new wing of the Republican Party. Like, I feel like the Democrats have totally thrown themselves under the bus, and they refuse to change and take on new ideas and young people. And so I'm just hoping that perhaps, the Republicans will come to you with open arms, and, if not, just keep talking, keep putting yourself out there. And if you ever think about running for office, or if you're just interested in being a pundit, like, your voice needs to be heard. So I just want to know what your thoughts are and what your plans are.
Thank you. Well, I definitely want to run for office. I feel like this is my calling. I feel like everything that's happened has put me and led me to this point to affect change. I want to help change the world. So you are also talking to the first openly gay elected vice chairman of the Virginia Beach Young Republicans. So I have been accepted. I have been welcomed. And I'm known in my community as the leader. I am the organizer. And so I want to use my skills and talents to help grow the Republican Party, to remake it in our image. I tell people, if you're unhappy with the Democrat Party, take some of those ideas that align with the Constitution, with American values, bring those to the Republican Party, because we're not perfect. I'm going to say that right now, the GOP is not perfect. And let's create a party that truly reflects and accepts all people. That's what I want to do. And one person on here made a comment. They said, Mr. Presler, what is your opinion on the Second Amendment? And I am a firm, strong supporter of every person's right to keep and bear arms to defend yourself against violence. And in fact, I've already signed up for a class, and I will be taking my concealed carry class in Virginia Beach on the 24th of this month. I especially feel that nowadays I need to carry a weapon on me, and I do have the ability to protect myself from violence, and I think every single person should have their constitutional right to defend themselves and their families from violence.
Hear, hear. We won't get too deep into the Second Amendment thing right now because there are 3 British people with us, and we don't want to like. But it is a uniquely American thing, and I'll say this for my British friends: there is something to
breaking away.
It's a cultural difference.
Well, and there
We
is
can
something to be
accept
said for what's going on when you have people. I mean, we were just putting something else up. Mr. Doppelganger passed me this, where someone said to him very snootily, was like, "Seek medical care." And Mr. Presler, I was actually introduced to some of your trolls. And if you go back and look at some of the, because you tweeted this out and you did get some people, a lot of people here. And in fact, I would say the majority of them, if not all, are here for you. They're certainly not here for me. But in that experience that I had today, when you tweeted out and seen the power of 77,000 followers, I've never had my stuff flooded like that. I got to meet at least one of your trolls, and to see you handle it like this when they say seek medical care and you just say can't, Obamacare is too expensive. You need to run for office, sir. You need to run for office. You are the man that can do it. You have the bulletproof jacket, so to speak, and you need to get the 45 caliber Sig Sauer 1911 to go with it.
Well, I rather enjoy in my pastime trolling the trolls. I really think it's quite fun. I'll tell you one other quick troll story. So this person was talking about the Golden Globes, and I was, sending out all these tweets about, oh, the Golden Globes is actually chauvinist. They have a picture of a gold man, and it's also against fat people because, you have a skinny golden man that it should be, more sensitive to the entire world. And someone wrote back to me, they said something about like, celebrities having earned it from a wall or something. And I tweeted back, these celebrities are talking about having a wall, gated in communities with their armed guards and their white, pulpits. And basically I trapped her into admitting that people should be fenced in for security. And she just couldn't even take it. It was amazing. I like to trap them into it and use that counter argument against them, and then they never reply back. Love it.
Yeah.
I always like to troll a troll also. And hey, listen, we can go wherever we want. I would love, Mr. Presler, you probably will end up getting tired of this eventually. But as long as I'm here, I want to hear some anecdotes about trolls and stuff. But I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to actually ask Miss Holly one more time if she's got something to talk about, because she is the political animal among us. And I want to keep you going along this line, because most people may not know this, but Miss Holly, I don't want to embarrass you, but she's into luck like I am. And so while I was asking her to come on the stream tonight and fill in for one of my panel members, I put 14 $1 bills. I actually put 13 because I thought, oh, I got another one, and I sealed it up. And as I was going to the post office, I thought, oh my goodness, because I'm a musician. I've been a musician for years, and I know, man, luck is luck, and luck sucks. Break a leg. So, as I was, anyway, to make a long story short, Miss Holly, if you have something else, because she's running and she's a Green Party member, and we grilled her on this panel one day, and she gave all the right answers, in my opinion. She's a real Green Party member that doesn't believe in carbon tax and so on and so forth, and without sucking up the rest of the oxygen. Miss Holly, if you got one or two more even for him, I would love to let you have the floor just for a moment and ask the rest of the panel to just relax.
Yeah, I'm just really excited, and I'm glad to hear that the Republicans, especially in, Virginia, I live in Maine, so I just assume, that Virginia's the South or something, or I don't know. I don't know the culture down there, so I'm excited to hear that you're really taking over the party over there, and it's smart, it's wise of the Republicans to let this happen, because like I've said, and like you said, the Democrats have really just shot themselves in the foot with this. We're so open-minded, and so we're so focused on SJW that we won't let opposing viewpoints into the party. So I'm just wondering what you think about, if you consider yourself a millennial or Gen Z, or what you think about people your age, if you have if you have hopes and dreams about the future and young people, or you think your peers are a lost cause, or what?
Not at all. So I do consider myself a millennial. I am within that age category. And actually, I spend my time, I go around speaking to high schools. I go around speaking to colleges. I actually feel an obligation from being a millennial to work on my generation. And I don't believe that anybody is a lost cause. At inauguration, here I am, a white gay man, millennial. I was standing next to an elderly black man watching the 45th president of the United States get sworn in, President Donald John Trump. And that was the moment when you need to realize people are people. Talk to people, present your ideas, present your ideology. What we are selling is we're selling patriotism, we're selling America, we're selling putting our people first. And when you talk to our generation, when you talk to young people like yourself, you just got to find out what makes them tick. And at the end of the day, we are more alike than we are disagreeing with each other. We have so many things that we want to share together, but we label and we box and we categorize and we try to divide people exactly like what the Democrat Party does. The Democrat Party is about dividing and conquering. I want the Republican Party to be a party where we have conversation and dialogue and where we express our views to each other without hurting each other like Antifa does and like the Democrat Party does at these violent riots and protests. We're not going to be that way. We are going to be the party of doing. We are going to be the party of energy, of excitement, of optimism, of enthusiasm. We are going to be the party that creates. I want to see our generation be the next great generation. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because I feel like in American media, we're just constantly, the American media is just hated upon millennials, and there's plenty of reason to really be upset and frustrated with young people right now, how they're either apathetic or they're just uninformed, even though we have access to the internet. So maybe you can talk about how you think the internet and millennials and all this sort of politics, how we're using that as a, creating alternative media. We all are now. Yeah.
No, I think Facebook and Twitter are the reason why Trump won, because we have created an alternative media. But I don't think that's the problem in today's society. I think so many things are wrong culturally, where, like, for example, let's just talk about for a second school. Why are people paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school to get a degree for a job that doesn't exist? I say we need more trade schools. I say we need more people to learn a skill that actually exists, where they don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that they're never going to attain and put themselves in debt and cause this bubble that's going to happen, because it's going to happen.
Let me back that up a wee bit.
Indeed.
I have 2 degrees that I've mentioned too often to mention again. And those 2 degrees that took me 8 years of my life and cost my grandfather's estate a small fortune. Those 2 degrees and $5.20 will get me a venti cappuccino at Starbucks.
Right.
And nothing else.
Okay.
No, I've done nothing with those degrees. I mean, nothing. What I've done in my life didn't require those. Actually, one of them, I should say, helped. The divinity helped. But I didn't need it to do what I did. Anyway, I'm done. And Britisher, it sounded like you wanted to pipe up.
Okay, can I just ask, because since we're talking about education, since we're touching on it with degrees and whatever, I mean, what do you see in a way as the solution regarding the education system? Because most of this social justice madness that we're witnessing is effectively coming out of the universities. It's coming out of the colleges. So, I mean, given that they seem to have such an absolute, deadlock on the education system, how does one actually solve this? Or will they just continue churning out generation after generation of social justice warriors?
Well, let me tell you, when it comes at least to finances, part of the reason or part of the solution is, how about stop spending money on Play-Doh and therapy dogs and coloring books? But that's all I have to say about that. What we have to do is we need people to actually go into those roles. I know a lot of young conservatives that are becoming teachers. We need more people to enter the education system because the liberals are smart. They figured out that if you take over the media, they figured out that if you take over the education system, you take over a culture. They took over our culture. We need to enter those fields of education. We need to enter those fields of media or create our own media, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have channels just like the Ogre, JT, that are popping up all across the United States that are helping get out our message. And look at all the people that are listening. This is how we affect change. We affect change by affecting the culture. And part of it is our society and our culture tells you that you're nothing if you don't have a college degree, which couldn't be further from the truth. Number one, not everybody is meant to go to college. Number two, you can become a millionaire without going to college. Society, stop telling people they're worthless if they don't go to college. You can still be an amazing, successful, rich person in our country.
And
It's
look,
just
I don't want to, I'm not going to derail this, but I do have
Yeah.
to mention that Trevor, good point, Trevor, or listen, I'm not ragging on higher education. I said for me. So I do believe that someone with the education that I've had and the degrees I've had could have probably done a lot more with it than what I have. But if I would have listened to what Scott Presler is saying right now, when I was 19, 20 years old, I would have went in to be a welder or a carpenter or something that I do now. I'm a farmer. I'm a farmer. What I'm saying is, for me personally, no one was there to say, look, son, the world needs ditch diggers too. They only said your grandfather has this something for you, so let's spend it all. That's all. So
Yeah, I mean, if you're
carry
going
on.
into the stems, but have you seen how they tried to even corrupt the stems?
no,
now?
everyone knows. Look, they beat, when I would walk on the STEM side of the university, the nerds would come out and beat me away with their trigonometry books and shout things like, go to the art side, you hippie. And I would scurry off to the philosophy and art side of the college. So that's what I'm saying too. I want to make that clear. If you're in college for STEM, Tigerson, I'm not sure what you're in there for. Or if you're in there and you're in there, I would say if you're a male and you're in there for counseling or social work, please, God, stay in there, because there's very few of you in there. But
Yeah,
my
sure.
goodness, if
Can
you
I
do,
just-
yes, anything to
Can-
stop
can
me
I
on
just offer-
ranting.
Just offer my 2 cents on this, because it would be slightly hypocritical to say that we should, ban these Mickey Mouse degrees, which are not really suited to any particular useful job. But at the same time, we could raise awareness to people to, not do these
Exactly.
Mickey Mouse degrees where you're just studying these ridiculously ideological books.
Yes.
And you just read them in your own time for free, but then pay for a degree where you actually you designed for a decent, well-paying job
How about
afterwards.
as a hobby? That's what they used to call it, a hobby.
Yeah, and then Mr. Pressler, if you want to speak to that, you go ahead. You try to pipe
have it
up a couple
hobby
times.
instead.
No, well, I mean, I tweeted this out after I believe it was the Syrian strike. I said, wow, look at all of these feminist college studies majors that suddenly have become national security experts overnight. # Syrian strike. And it's really true. I mean, if you want to get a good job, it's probably not the best idea to study sperm whales in the North Atlantic. I mean, study
Dance
something
therapy.
where you're going to be able to get a great job right after college. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure.
All these ridiculous politics, intersectionality and crap. That should be your hobby. It's not something you pay thousands of pounds in debt for, or it's just ridiculous.
But also, they're trying to corrupt the
Ugh.
STEM, the whole STEM concept,
Oh,
because
God,
now they
yeah.
want to call it STEMs. They now want to include sociology as part of it, or what was it? Social
Sociology?
sciences. Yeah,
Oh,
they
God.
instead of being STEM, they want to put an extra S on the end, which will include social sciences. I mean, it's like adding extra letters to the end of LGBTQZ.
I'm not going to tell
YXYZ.
I'm not going to tell I'm not going
Yeah.
to tell my story again, but I will say this. My other thing that I did had to do with psychology, and that was not considered a STEM when I was in school. That's as simple as that. Your trigonometry and engineering and structural engineers and biologists and mechanics, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And look, I want to let Mr. Presler have the helm, because we'll just take this over just like I just did. Mr. Presler, or in fact, I hate to do this. I'm going to do it anyway. Miss Holly, you have saved the show like 5 times now. So if you don't have some already, go right to the Britisher. Get us on something good that will go along with what we already see Mr. Presler enjoys speaking about.
I don't know. I just feel, I just want to say how eloquent you are. You know, I just think it's great. I'm looking forward to seeing your work, and I'm serving in local office on a school board, so I just want to say thank you so much for your thoughts about college and how we are, you know, on school boards we're really forced, like in some schools in the United States, we're making a requirement for people to have to apply for college. And so I just think it's great that young people are starting to have that conversation, because we are over $1 trillion in student loan debt, and that's a huge problem. That's something we're putting off, and so we need fiscal responsibility. So I think it's great that you're saying that, and as someone that has actually worked in a school system too, just keep talking about those issues. That's not really a question. I just wanted to say that to you real quick.
No, thank you, and props to you for being an elected school board member. I think that's fantastic. Really cool.
Would you tell us any more about your story, Holly, since you got him interested? Was there some kind of obstacle you had to overcome because people were ridiculing you for something that you artfully that you did?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say before you do that real quick. I'm sorry I keep having to mute and jump out, but I've got to get out of the call because my kids, with the storm and everything, they're being wild and fighting each other.
Thank you so much, Amanda Wolfchild. I'm going to go ahead and send out your channel in the sidebar. I highly suggest you go check out her channel. When she's not putting up great videos, she's making great likes on videos that other people have done, and she's just a wonderful human being. Go ahead and swing by and check out Amanda Wolfchild.
Yep. Bye, everybody. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you so
Sorry
much.
I couldn't really join very well.
No, you did great tonight, girl, as always. Amanda is more or less, along with Cabbage Patch, she's our resident ball buster, for lack of a better term. She's the one that will ask you questions you may not want to answer. Tonight, she was absolutely very kind. She's usually, I'm not going to say unkind. So, in fact, I'm just going to be quiet right now. And Miss Holly, that was very nice of you. But if you don't want to say, and I'm not going to tell your story for you. I just found it inspiring, just like I found Mr. Presler's story inspiring, and you said some really nice things to Mr. Presler. I just wanted to give you a chance to say some things that you might have had to overcome to be where you're at today.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, when I was in college, it was during the first Obama election, and I had been working, you know, volunteering. Of course, the Democratic Party was all in my college campus and getting all the young college people to volunteer for Obama's campaign. You know, we all believe the hope and change and this and that, and pretty much the year after he got into office, I realized that he wasn't actually going to act on any of that hope or change. It was just a way to try to wrangle the young grassroots movement. And I've been a theater, and I've been interested in theater and did burlesque shows when I was in college. I started producing and acting in burlesque, and you know, the leftists, the feminists were telling me that I was exploiting myself. You know, people were saying that I was sexist because, you know, I was using my body, you know, or whatever. I don't, you know, it's hard to even articulate what they were saying exactly to me, but I was not somehow I was told that I was not a feminist because of my burlesque hobby. And that's when I knew I needed to break from the left, you know. And yes, I'm a Green. I'm a registered Green, and I'm serving on the school board. But I think the Green Party is very small in the United States, so I think we've been perceived as just being another wing of the Democrats necessarily, or, you know, people don't realize that, you know, I do agree with a lot of the alternative right, as we say. Like, I want to audit the Fed. I think we need fiscal responsibility. I think when people say conservative, yes, I want to conserve, you know, I want to bring our money home and start repairing our roads and stuff. Like, we're falling apart, you know. So I want to say that I think there's a lot of common ground between a lot of people right now in alternative media and alternative politics. So I just want to encourage you to continue to reach out to different groups of people, keep speaking your truth, and just teaching people that there are different types of politics. You know, we have some British guests here tonight. I know that they have multiple party systems, and you know, we're stuck with red versus blue here in the United States. And you know, if you don't fall into what they tell you is red or blue, then you don't belong. And so I'm really excited to see your work, and maybe you could respond a little bit about feminism. I know maybe you don't have the experience with a whole lot of that, but I'm sure you probably have had a lot of feminists speaking at you.
I'm sorry, that's directed to me.
Yeah, what you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about about feminism, or just
Sure.
you know how we've degraded.
Yeah, no, I am a feminist. You know, people think that men can't be, and it's only to women, but no, I'm happy to say I'm a feminist. I definitely want women to have equal rights and equal opportunity in our country, but feminism has become so mutated nowadays to like what you said, where even showing your body is anti-female. One could argue that actually you are celebrating the female form in an artistic way. So I mean, really, it has been hijacked by this radical new feminism, where even pro-life feminists wanted to march at the Women's March, you know, back in January, and the pro-life feminists were told that they couldn't march as an organizer, yet they invited Linda Sarsour and CARE, the Council for Islamic Relations, to the Women's March, who both advocate, or are tied to at least, Sharia law, which is anti-women. So the feminist movement is by and large hypocritical with its tying itself to the radical ideology, and that's what we're seeing today.
You know, Linda Sarsour's surname means cockroach.
Does it really?
Yeah,
What?
I will. I think an ex-Muslim was on Dave Rubin's show, and she said that. Yeah,
I hope that's true. I hope it's true. But even if it's not, it should be true. Anyway.
The feminism is just like any.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Have we lost Scott?
Maybe, but if we did, he'll be back. It looks like he froze up there with it.
Oh, we should have this sound from CNN for such occasions.
Yeah.
We know that the CIA is probably involved in this also. And as soon as he's back, we'll just carry on. I will say this. Oh, there he is. There he is. So carry on where you were, sir, if you know where you were, and if not, one of us will prompt you.
Sure. I was just saying that disagreement does not make you a morally suspect person. If you disagree with someone, it does not make you automatically a racist, sexist, chauvinist, Islamophobic, xenophobic person. It just means that you simply disagree, unless you're coming out as full-blown Nazi.
But it does though. Just does.
I'm sorry?
It just does mean you're a racist, you know, it just does.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's as dry English.
Badly.
No, it went over good. My mic was off. You just couldn't hear me laughing.
I'm just gonna.
No, you did great, Tiger. So that was.
No, I would just like to interject here before Holly said that over here we have a sort of multi-party system, whereas over there you are stuck with the blues and the reds. Well, strictly speaking, we are stuck with the blues and the reds too. We have one or two other minor parties, but by and large, it is blues and reds. I was
going to say that.
The one thing that doesn't apply here so much is one thing that happened in America, and that is that the entire concept of liberal seemed to kind of be taken up by one of the two sides. Whereas over here, it's kind of split between left and right, but it is kind of understood that some of the things the right is more liberal on, and some of the things the left is more liberal on. It hasn't kind of been, you know, I think it was particularly sort of during the 90s or so that the right then actually started turning the term liberal into almost a dirty word. And now one is almost trying to extricate oneself from that, because now some people are coming across from the left who are coming across for liberal reasons because they don't want anything to do with the left anymore because it is turning illiberal. And now one is sort of having to try to kind of reposition oneself on the right in order to effectively accept that, yes, liberalism is actually a force for good.
I do feel a bit bad sometimes using the word liberal as some sort of insult, but
well, but let's remember, Mr. Presler said in the beginning that he is a social liberal. I mean, the term liberal has been hijacked. I love the term anarchy. I'm an anarcho-capitalist. So when I hear that mocked and belittled because people don't understand no, because people don't understand its true meaning, Britisher. I could be wrong, but my opinions are subjective. So I would say I couldn't possibly be wrong on what I believe the proper kind of government should be. Anyway, I won't go off on that tangent because it makes me think of history, and we both like a particular character that names himself Sargon of Akkad, that at that time a benevolent dictator was the best kind. You just have to find a benevolent one to dictate. That said, Mr. Presler, this has gone all over the place tonight, as you can see. We call ourselves the Madcap Crew for a reason.
What happened?
I want to get you back on American politics just a little bit.
Sure.
If you did run for office, what would be your starting point now? Where would you start from?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm looking for, a signal that the timing is right. I know that I'm meant to do something. I just don't know if it's that I should start with city council and gain experience and move up, or I don't know if I should go straight, into the state legislature. I just know that I want to fight for these ideals of, putting the American people first, lowering taxes, and the most important thing that we have to do to get our country on track, which Mr. Trump is doing, is to remove these regulations and reform the tax code. Those, I believe, are the most two important things that we have to do. Small businesses are the backbone of our country, and they are being regulated to death. And Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is one of those reasons why. So again, I don't know when or what I'm going to run for office, but you will see me running one day, and I hope to earn people's support, as I continue to put myself out there. But I do feel like this is what I'm running under is the new wave of the Republican Party. We aren't your dad's Republican Party. We are a new culture of accepting American-loving patriots that want to put the Constitution and our people first. I think that's the new party.
It's this joining of, and I kind of tried to prompt you. Now I'm going to really prompt you, and then absolutely turn it over to the panel for 10 minutes once I'm done this prompting. It's the joining of fiscal and governmental conservatism with liberal, social ideas. In other words, you do what you want. Don't steal my lawnmower, but don't be a big government that tells me what to do. Do you see yourself? Go ahead, sir.
Keep the government out of my life and out of my bedroom. I should be able to do whatever I want to do as long as it doesn't hurt or affect someone else's abilities to have their constitutional rights and freedoms. I should be able to do whatever I want as long as it doesn't hurt or inhibit someone else's freedoms. And I think that is the wave of the future in our party. That's what it comes down to.
Can I ask in that case, regarding the position of a force that is diminishing but is nonetheless still quite a force within the Republican Party?
Yes.
And that is the religious right. Because obviously, as recently since George W. Bush was U.S. president, the religious right was a considerable force in the Republican Party, and they wouldn't really be seen as sort of socially liberal or socially permissive, particularly when it came to things like gay rights and such things. So, have you got a position on the religious right in that sort of perspective?
Well, here's what I've seen personally, and I'm going to give you anecdotal, stories. But again, I reach thousands and thousands of people, and they write me messages. Since I came out as gay, President Trump has transformed our party. Not everyone is there yet. I will admit that it's a religious right. But the difference between the Democrat Party and the Republican Party is, you know, the Democrats are importing a culture here that wants to hurt me. The worst that Republicans will do is they won't bake me a cake, whereas radical ideology from people will kill me. So am I going to take the culture that's going to put me off of a building, or am I going to take the culture that won't bake me a cake? Well, let me tell you, it gets even better. Since I came out as gay, I have 70-year-old straight white Christian men who send me messages every single day, and they say, Scott, you know, I want to let you know that I love you and that I support you. I even had one person that said to me, you've opened my eyes. So the reason why I do these interviews and I put myself out there and I put myself in a vulnerable position is because I am affecting change, and I am helping to open people's eyes.
Mr. Presler, you're in trouble now because everybody knows what I'm going to say that's on my regular panel. You are on my list of gay men that I would kiss in my downtown square, right on the mouth. And all of them Christians, because I'm a Christian myself. And I'm not going to say I agree or disagree right now with whatever you decide to do, because it ain't my business. And if anybody else don't like it, they should keep their business to their business and keep your business to your business. And if someone, anyway, that's it.
And like
you are on my list of about 5 gay men that I would kiss in public.
And like I said, I want you guys to quote me on this. Quote the gay man. Christians may not bake me a cake, but they won't throw me off of a building. And that is the difference between the Republican Party and the culture the Democrats are importing.
Hallelujah. I don't want to take over, folks, but I know somebody else.
What you said there, kind of, I know this comes completely left of field, but I wonder whether you're familiar with the movie As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, because I was just about to advise you to watch that one if you ever get the chance. Because, yeah, the way that the Jack Nicholson character eventually warms to his gay neighbor is something to be seen. So anyway, any audience members out there who are watching, have a look at As Good as It Gets, the movie.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, go ahead, Tigerson.
I was just going to say, I think I'm going to sign off now.
Thank you so much, Tiger. It's so late over there for all our British friends. I just noticed Cabbage was gone. Say goodbye, Tig.
As is usually the case with when I'm on your streams, I am in bed right now. So, and yeah,
we are your pillow
in details. Yeah, nice to sort of meet you, Scott, and keep up the good work.
Thank you for having me.
And I wish you all the best of luck with your political ambitions.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. See you guys.
See you now.
Bye.
Good to have you, Ty. Good to have you anytime, brother. Thank you so much for swinging by. And we won't let that derail us. But what I will say is, Mark, you had a question earlier, and if no one else wants to go on this tangent that we've been on, anything you want, Mark. You've been so patient and quiet, and this guy helps me produce the show. So where are we going to go?
Yeah, I wanted to throw you a softest of softballs and ask you about marijuana, assuming quietly that you probably support recreational use. But actually, how do we solve the problem of the old style or old guard opposition to marijuana personified by, for example, Jeff Sessions in the GOP? How do we solve that problem? How do we convince them that it's something that people should have freedom to use?
No, it's a good question. I am neither for nor against recreational marijuana. What I am for is I'm up for a vote. I think that states should vote, as they have been, as to whether it should be legalized or not. Who am I to speak for people? I think that state by state, let's have a vote. And if people want it, you vote for it. If you don't, you don't. But what I am for is, like I mentioned earlier, I am for medicinal marijuana. I am for cannabidiol oil, where it does not have a presence of THC, but it can help reduce seizures. It can help reduce a lot of disorders in our community. And I think it's important that we have that treatment for veterans and for our people. Now, one thing that we can do is, it's another cultural, societal problem. Society has told us that marijuana is bad, etc., that we shouldn't even touch marijuana. What we need to focus on is we need to focus on the hemp industry. hemp can produce clothing. Hemp is fast growing. Hemp is
Holly?
actually really easy to grow, and hemp, it can even be used for biodegradable water bottles. So if you want to talk about a policy of being green, if you want to talk about a policy of being fiscally conservative, if you want to talk about a policy where you're not dealing with THC, if you want to talk about creating a whole bunch of different products, we need to educate the public on hemp and how many different ways that it can benefit our lives.
In
Holly,
fact,
I know,
wasn't George Washington one of the biggest
he grew hemp. I had a
growers in the
sticker.
world?
I had a sticker, Brett, that on all $1 bills I'd stamp, I grew hemp out of $1 bills. And they couldn't do anything to me about it because that's not a defacement or something. It was not indelible ink, and he did grow hemp. So that said, man, listen, I hate to cut you off, Brett, because I know it's late where you're at, but Holly did a whole video on this, what he just said.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I think in the next 5-10 years, state by state, we're going to be legalizing marijuana across every state, and it's going to be a tough road. I mean, we legalized it here in Maine. I'm not sure. We started off by legalizing it in my city.
Wait, I just cut off my partner in crime, so I got to say this. Can you see what he just did though? He disconnected. You said marijuana, which I would call, let's just call cannabis or medical marijuana, if you will.
Perfect.
And he disconnected that with hemp, the fastest growing. He mentioned. So yeah, go on that, Holly, if you will.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, exactly. Because people in America, we associate marijuana with drugs and drug abuse and our drug war and all the propaganda of that. And it's been rolled in with hemp, which provides a myriad of different sources, from energy to clothing. We could restart our economy in 5 years. We could restart our economy with hemp. So I'm just super excited that we have people on the right and the left, and everyone's starting to talk about it now. So you made a perfect point. I'm going to start referring to marijuana and hemp separately as that, just because we have to.
Nobody can hit you, because if you say marijuana, just very quickly, what they'll do is they'll say, well, that's a Mexican word. It means loco weed. Marijuana does. That's what it means.
Okay.
And so call it cannabis when you're referring to, just for your political aspirations.
Perfect.
Because when you're referring to the use of it, and when you're referring to growing, it's hemp. There, you could smoke a trainload of hemp, it wouldn't do anything. But I do, Scott, before I give it back to the Britisher, because he was so cool and let me cut him off there, and it's late as heck where he is. Do you see that disconnect? So if you were to run, I certainly hope you wouldn't start out as dog catcher, son. That's all I'm going to tell you. If I was you, I would wait till there was a seat opened up in your state house or whatever you have there, and try to run for state, and then maybe in a few, we could talk about that later.
Yeah, that's what I recommend too. I waited until a seat was open.
In your state, yeah. And then move up from there, because if you served in your state and don't quit that to do something else either. You might have to buy your, look, and that's a long conversation you should probably have with Holly, because she has a lot of experience in this kind of thing. But you see that disconnect, Scott. And before I drag you, I'm not trying to drag anyone into the marijuana weeds, so to speak, because I already made my point. I don't think any drug should be illegal if it doesn't hurt someone else if I do it. If that's the case, well, then the leftists can't have psychologists that would help a girl pour bleach in her eyes because she was trans. I can't remember the term, because it should be in the DSM. It's not it's something that you do if you're insane, not if you're somebody's counselor. So do you see the disconnect, and why on earth wouldn't we have hemp being grown across this great land when you can grow 4 crops a year, make clothing, everything out of it?
Yeah, it's just the packaging. It's all about messaging. There's a difference between what I did last year. So instead of saying Hillary Clinton is a B word or a nasty word, instead of saying that, I would simply say, I don't trust her. I think Hillary Clinton lies to us. It's all about how you present your package and your messaging. So instead of saying I'm for legalizing marijuana, I'd say, hey, you know what? I'm for the hemp industry. Do you know what the hemp industry is? It's a way that we can produce all of these different types of items more efficiently, and hemp grows really quickly. And there's not THC, a large amount present in the product that can get people high. We're talking about a really good cash crop. And I think if you present it in that fashion, in that package, in that message, we can reach across to people who traditionally would, when you say the word marijuana, be afraid of it. Let's talk about hemp, because people don't really know what that means. So let's use that new branding, that new word, to get across to people a new educational tool, and let's brand it. It's all about marketing and PR, and I think we can do that.
That's well said. That's brilliant. I don't know what else to say, because of politics, as in so many other things in life, what it comes down to is what you present to people. That's why I do believe semantics is important, and we do make a distinction between cannabis and hemp. There's a huge difference. And I suggest you look into it, Mr. Presler. I would, and also Holly, because I do believe there is zero cannabinoids that we would consider psychoactive, such as CBDs or THCs or CBMs, which are the three main psychoactive ingredients in cannabis. Anyway.
Well, and also, I think every single person should see the video where you have that elderly gentleman on Facebook. I'm sure some of you have seen it. And, you know, he's fidgeting around. He has a disease. They take the cannabidiol oil, they place it on the sole of his foot, and within minutes, his behavior is stabilized.
Oh, there's that boy with hiccups. There's so many cases. There's a young girl. There's Charlotte's Web. Is the type. Look, I'm already off in the weed, so I'm going to pull it back, because if I don't, the British is going to start ringing a bell, and that's his cannabis bell. Like I have a pedophile bell. He'll start ringing that cannabis bell. He's got a gun bell. He's got like 4 bells. I only got 2. So I'm not going to mention my other one. I already said one, pedophile bell. So without breaking out any bells, Brett, do you want to bring us back to Earth, so to say, from the stratosphere of like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young with a big fat doobie?
I thought I would sort of try and sort of really bring it back today. Earlier in this chat, you want every country to succeed, but I couldn't help but think at the back of my mind that is the case except for Hillary Clinton.
True.
Yeah, the beginning of that broke all to hell, Brett. The beginning and the last part is breaking all to hell. I'd like to let you continue, but if you could restate or even type it, unless you could restate, we could understand you. Because
I'll just try talking nice and clearly. Your opposition to Hillary Clinton is quite marked. So basically, it's quite undoubtable. And I was just wondering, is it merely because she is the Democrat candidate, or is it something specifically about Hillary Clinton?
It is.
Perfect.
I mean, where would you like me to start?
Wherever you like. It's a big subject, but you can expand at your leisure.
I mean, sure. Okay, so do I not like Hillary Clinton simply because she's a Democrat? No. I don't like Hillary Clinton because of her mistake in Libya. I don't like Hillary Clinton because she took millions of pay-for-play Saudi Arabian money. I don't like the fact that she sold 20% of our uranium to Putin. I don't like the fact that there are bodies behind the Clinton name of people who have mysteriously suicided or had plane crashes. I mean, the mysteries are uncanny.
It's remarkable. It's always plane crashes or suicides, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's never a car crash.
I don't like the fact that Hillary Clinton has flip-flopped on every single major policy in history, from gay marriage to Iran to taxes to oil to fracking. Everything has been what is popular versus what is not popular opinion. And the fact of the matter is she was just the untrustworthy candidate. And that's why we had Green Party people and we had Bernie-crats and we had so many Democrats actually vote for Trump. This wasn't Democrat versus Republican, this election. This was globalism versus nationalism. And thankfully, nationalism won. We didn't want an unethical liar who was going to police everything. We wanted a nationalist that was going to put the American people first. And we're already seeing that with things like NATO, with having President Trump actually make people pay their fair share, which you think Democrats would be for. Because every time I turn around, the Democrats are saying pay their fair share, well, except for when it comes to the UN and NATO. So thank you to President Trump for doing that. And thank you for President Trump for taking green money that we send to the UN and instead investing that back into our infrastructure. And thank you to President Trump for developing relationships with Jordan and Egypt. Thank you for President Trump for securing the border. Thank you for President Trump for banning lobbyists. Thank you to President Trump for scaling back regulations. Thank you to President Trump for the Keystone Pipeline. Thank you to President Trump for bringing down illegal border crossings. I'm thankful that President Trump is keeping his promises to the American people. And that's something we wouldn't have gotten with Hillary Clinton. So no, it's not because she's a Democrat. And I think it's for the reason I just explained, which I hope enlightened you.
Oh yes, it was. It's fairly clear the way you think, and I must admit that I was one of a circle of people over here who also said, for heaven's sake, anyone, just not Hillary Clinton.
Yes, sir.
It really was one of those, and you know, we're not even Americans. We're just basically sitting over here, and we're aware of the sort of the global influence of the United States, and Hillary Clinton just appeared as this huge threat on the horizon on the other side of the Atlantic, and we just sort of thought, anybody, we don't care who it is, we don't care who comes through these caucuses or whatever your system is, just please come up with another candidate who can actually defeat this woman. So I think there was quite a sentiment in quite a few other countries. Just basically rooting for anyone, just not Hillary.
Yeah, and very quickly, Brett, I just want to say, Falcon, don't delete anybody else's messages. And I'm sure that Mr. Presler has big shoulders, and anyone can say whatever they want to in the chat. I'm not going to speak for you, Mr. Presler, but I would guess that if they would like to talk to him about, you know, any of his ideas, they could feel free to do it, you know, on Twitter. And maybe this is a human being that I won't name that maybe has already been shut down on Twitter. I have no idea, by Mr. Presler. With that said, you know, don't delete anyone's messages over here. We want a free market of ideas. And if someone wants to dig themselves a hole, because I just witnessed this, friends, I'm just giving advice that was given to me by someone on the panel. So let anyone say whatever they want to say. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings here, sir. So with that,
I believe it was George Washington who said, if a fool is speaking, you know, let them. So if someone is showing you who they are, let them. And I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well said. So we were going in a great direction. Go ahead, Brett, as I rudely cut in there, because I just want to let it be known, hey, we're you know, whatever. And I shall taunt you a second time, sir. You know, we all know Monty Python, and I was just watching Andy Kaufman. If y'all let me, I'll steer it in a really different direction. Can I ask you a question off politics? Just for all the haters that are used to watching me on a day-to-day basis, and we've been talking politics now for almost 2 hours. So I don't know how long you have, Mr. Presler. Well, I'll say this. Before I steer it in this direction, when you only have 10 or 20 minutes left, will you let me know so I can ask you a couple questions about, like, your favorite comic and that kind of thing?
Sure. Well, actually, I do want to have some semblance of a life, so if we can rock this out by 8 o'clock and you can have me on another time.
Oh, man, I'd love that. So I'll just ask you right now, have you ever heard of the late, great Andy Kaufman?
I have not, so please enlighten me.
Well, I'm not going to enlighten you. I'll probably ask you about a couple other comics. Have you heard of the late, great Bill Hicks?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, these were a couple comics, and I could go on. I was just turned on to a couple English comics by the Britisher and by Cabbage Patch Bastard. But so with that, I'll say, in this new era, we have all kinds of things happening. I watch, you know, this whole controversy about the stars on Netflix for a certain woman that's destroying her health. I don't know, you know, Amy Schumer, I'll say. I was trying to avoid saying her name. And now there's controversy about comedy. But, you know, Andy Kaufman, if you can remember that name, check him out on your time off. He would do elaborate practical jokes. Nobody believed he died. I was just looking at articles that were as early as 2013 that say they saw him in Arizona. They saw him panhandling in Denver because he would panhandle. He was really wealthy. Well, he played Elvis. He played Ladka on Taxi. And so he had this whole gig where he'd get up there and he'd do a 15-minute skit where, like, I'm going to give you the impression of the Jimmy Carter. And he'd turn around, do his thing, and he'd go, "Hello, I am the President of the United States, Jimmy Carter." And as that might sound funny to you, he would do that for 15 minutes straight. And then he would go, "Now I'm going to give you the impression of the Elvis Presley." And when he turned around, he'd throw his hat off. He'd slick back his black hair. He would rip off these Velcroed things that would show spanglies underneath the stupid costume that he had on. And you'd realize he was standing in front of you dressed like the king for 15 minutes. You just didn't know it. He'd strike up the band, and with no lip sync, he would do a freaking blowout impressions of the king. But that said, people get lost in the part, you know, they get thrown overboard. I've done it myself many times in life. So my final question to you, because you've been so kind with your time, is I think the Britisher was hitting at this. Sometimes I wonder, I like you now, and I'll like you if you become a politician. But when Trump put his hand on that book, Scott Presler, I always say in my videos that you may or may not have watched, I got my eye on Trump and my eye on Mrs. Trump too, for a different reason. With all due respect to the First Lady, my goodness, we just haven't. So that said, you know, do you ever worry about getting lost in the part? You know, like the Britisher worries that people maybe don't point out flaws in Mr. Trump, President Trump, as they should, or other politicians. Do you ever worry about that for yourself?
Definitely. I think that that's something Democrats and Republicans are both struggling with right now. Look at what happened with President Obama. President Obama made a lot of mistakes, but because it was Democrat versus Republican, they were willing to back him every step of the way. And I think that there are some people, and I might even myself be at danger for this, for supporting President Trump, even with something that he shouldn't be doing, just because the opposition is so virulent and rioting and protesting and violent. I think some people feel like they have to support the president because what is the other option? Do we become the Democrat Party? Do we become like them? And I don't know how other people are feeling, but I never want to become what the Democrat Party is becoming. So I think that people are at danger of becoming sycophantic for the president. But the reality of the situation, as I expressed earlier, is President Trump is keeping his promises. And we do have our eye on you, Mr. President, if you happen to be watching the Ogre JT show, which would be pretty cool.
Man, that was so well said.
We are watching, and so far I'm thrilled, honestly. And I'm not just saying this because of what I am on Twitter. I'm so thankful and so grateful that President Trump is our president today. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do in his next 100 days. And I look forward to continuing to help get him reelected until he does something that is unelectable worthy. But other than that, I'm on board for hashtag Trump 2020. And also, one last thing I'd like to say on this video, since we have 2 minutes left. Every single person watching needs to make sure that you're registered to vote at your current address, because Congress is up for election on November 6th, 2018. So every single person needs to vote. I don't care how you vote. Vote on Tuesday, November 6th, 2018 for Congress. If you're happy with President Trump, vote Republican. If you're not, you do what you got to do. But he's keeping his promises, so we need to give him a Congress that he can work with to fulfill his mission of making America great again.
Mr. Presler, I just want to give you your chance to say your piece and then some, and then I will plug your Twitter handle.
Thank you. No, honestly, that's it. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that was wonderful. That was wonderful. I didn't want to press you anymore. Thank you so much, Mr. Presler. And I think I speak for everyone that was here and for everyone that is here now. And I'm sure they'll say their own goodbyes, the ones that are here now. It was an honor to have you on. We all hope that you run for office, and our support would be behind you if we would be your constituency.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It's wonderful. And don't let us keep you here. I'll just keep asking you questions. There's someone else to say goodbye, and we'll keep you here another 25 minutes, because I'm probably going to go for about another 20 minutes once you're gone. And we're going to gloat about having you on here and how cool you were. And you can watch that tomorrow or whatever. Tell your friends about it, because it was an honor to have you on, sir. And you do speak eloquently. Coming from Holly, brother, go check out her channel. That's high praise, man. She's no joke.
Thank you.
She is the real deal.
All right.
It was a pleasure having you.
Pleasure to meet you, the Britisher and Mark, and thank you, the Ogre. And I'm going to leave now. So You guys have a great night.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Goodbye.
much.
Bye, y'all.
Yeah, that was Scott Presler. I don't know if I'll stay here another 20 minutes, gentlemen, but I'm going to give you all a chance to say whatever you want. I really did enjoy that, young man. Everybody has their trolls. This is how I'm going to start out the end of it. And I did. I was exposed to that today. I was exposed to the power someone has when they have 77,000
Wait a second. Aren't
Twitter
we live?
followers. Yeah, we're live. Yeah.
Okay.
I was exposed to the power that someone has when they have 77,000 Twitter followers plus. And that is, as soon as he mentioned that he was going to be on this, just in a casual tweet, he didn't pound it into the ground like a tent peg or nothing. He just said, I'm going to be on this thing. That was it. You know, man, boom, 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 boom. I will be honest. I pray every night for rain when I need it, sunshine when I need it, and that I don't get followed by 77,000 people. Because I, like him, feel like I need to respond to them all. I see the Britisher. You're laughing because you're like me. I see you furiously over there on your channel, brother. So I'm leaving it at that. What do y'all think about that, man? He handled it well, and everybody has their trolls, man. And I don't think you can troll this man.
Yeah, if you've got 77,000 followers on Twitter, you must have a lot of aggravation coming your way.
Yeah, and we got some examples of that, and there were more on his Twitter, so yeah.
How would y'all handle that if that was happening to you? You were in a public light like that, and somebody just came out and said, listen, I hope your grandmother gets butt fucked behind the cabin where you live, you dumb hillbilly.
Well, I think as I have explained to you, you know, in the past, Ogre, I would ignore it to death.
Well, you also have another art.
I think I would have to find strength in something, and from what I hear from Mr. Presler, he found his strength in doing what he believes in, and that's his source of strength.
I till the ground. I till the soil.
Well, to me, with me, it's perhaps worth sort of mentioning this anecdote once, and that is that I once had the questionable pleasure of speaking to my MP of the day. He's since changed. It's another guy coming. But obviously, I am someone who is rather liberal in his outlook. Very much share the view that you do, Ogre, that basically people should be allowed to do whatever they want unless it harms another person. And this man had a terrific problem with that view. And he said to me straight, if it would be left to people like me, then folks would be having sex in the streets. Now, he obviously meant it as an insult. But I took it as one of the highest compliments I could possibly receive. Because if you are insulted by a grade A bigot, there is no greater compliment you can get. So basically, you are defined as much by your enemies as you are by your supporters. And in that regard, you have to see the trolls and the haters as people who define you in that very way. So basically, if you get all the hate by these people, then in effect, you must be doing something right.
Yeah, this is basically something that Churchill has said, right?
Did he? He said many things. He was an old man.
That if you have haters, it basically means you did something in your life.
Yeah, I mean, you can only get hated. You can only be hated if you have taken up a position.
Right.
If you are someone who is constantly refusing to take a position, then you will never get any hate. But frankly, you'll never achieve anything because you never stand for anything.
Yeah, well, people say, I've heard it said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And sometimes, you know what I like to say, Britisher, you could testify to this without even getting personal. I believe this and I practice it. Wisdom comes from a multitude of counselors. If you try to make up your own mind and surround yourself with who you believe is your peers, and you refuse to take the advice of said peers, one would be a fool.
Yeah, and if you only surround yourself with people who share your opinion and share your view in every single way, then you will learn from them exactly nothing.
Basically, you would end up radicalizing yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah, it just becomes an echo chamber.
Which is exactly what happens in closed, small closed groups of people like enclaves of immigrants.
Well, there is also another word. There is another expression for it. It's called a safe space.
That's a great connection.
As we chortle away, that was a good chortle we had. I try to work new words into my vocabulary. I mean, I knew that one. I just heard it recently on Better Call Saul. It's like sitting around chortling and drinking scotch. I was like, chortling. That's a great old word nobody uses. Like
Yes, that has a very British ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was working on that for you, Brett. Yeah, you know. Like it brings it back like to the old fire, like you imagine in the grand old days when the ladies would go off into their room and the gentlemen would go into their room, not because we were sexist, but because maybe we wanted to tell a dirty joke or two while we had our cigar. We didn't want the ladies to know we told dirty jokes. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They told dirty jokes too. We just didn't hear it.
Obviously. Well, sometimes we do hear, for example, our good friend Defrater has pretty nicely joked at Falcon's expense today. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I won't repeat any, but I'm sure she did. I saw a couple of them. You know what? We all teased it was Freudian slip. We all teased Defrater. I tried to say that you pulled up a good Freudian slip that, when you say, you meant to say another, but you say your mother. Anyway. But the reason we bust his balls is because, I mean, in this day and age, ball busting is it's underrated. When I was young, everybody busted your balls. If, when one was 7, 8 years old, man, the girls that were 12 years old would thump you, bam, like thump you on the head and be like, go get the broom. I ain't cleaning up. It's their turn to clean up. It didn't matter. They'd thump you and make you clean up. And I would say just like Saomi that was on the other day with us, I believe you were there, Doppel. Somebody was. It was on my normal crew. Transgendered woman. So you used to be a man. I'm getting the lingo. And she was like, well, this and that happened to me. And I asked her, someone was saying, oh, so sad that happened. And I just piped up like you would have, Doppel, or probably the Britisher, and said, well, Miss Saomi, could I ask you, if you had to do it over again and could choose those things not to happen to you, would you change anything? And the answer was no. It's what made me me. And now we want safe spaces, and nobody says chortle anymore. And it's not cool to drink scotch with your bros and tell dirty jokes and slap each other on the back and get out.
It's not only that no one wants to chortle; it's the fact that no one can chortle anymore because comedy has effectively been killed off. I mean, I would challenge anybody to watch Amy Schumer and try and chortle.
Well, no one's laughing now, as the joke went about Amy Schumer.
Look, I did not watch Ghostbusters. I could go on a litany of things I didn't watch, but I tried to watch Amy Schumer's special. I've got Netflix, and let me tell you, good luck. I went and watched Steven Crowder's takedown of it. Like it's just minute by minute. It's lasted longer than her show, I think, and that was funnier.
Look what's happened. Look what has happened to The Daily Show. Look what has happened to Saturday Night Live. I mean, those were really, world-class comedy programs.
Andy Kaufman came for Saturday Night Live fame, man, kind of.
And now and over here in Britain, it's much the same thing. The BBC has gone all out social justice, and you just basically cannot find, for love nor money, a comedy program that's worthwhile on the BBC anymore. And this is the BBC that had Fawlty Towers.
Ken Dodd.
That had Dad's Army, that had Only Fools and Horses. I mean, absolutely
keeping up appearances.
Fantastic comedy programs.
Yes.
Red Dwarf, and keeping up appearances. To the Manor Born. I mean, it goes on and on. We were, the two Ronnies. I mean, Britain was famous for comedy, and therefore I think when it comes to this political correctness, when it comes to this social justice, there is a point, I think, at which we can almost call it cultural terrorism, that it is the deliberate destruction of certain almost art, because it is no longer acceptable art. It is now sort of seen as, well, to borrow a term from the Nazis, it's now seen as depraved art, that you're not allowed to make that sort of entertainment anymore because it no longer suits with the doctrine, it no longer fits the ideology. and therefore suddenly no one really gets any decent comedy anymore.
Even the very mundane example of the Ahmed the Dead terrorist, that couldn't happen today, could it?
No.
Remember this sketch?
Which was that? Sorry, I'm not familiar with.
There was the punchline, "Silence, I kill you," a few years ago.
From what show? From Saturday Night Live?
Is that the
Ahmed
ventriloquist?
Yes.
Oh,
Ventriloquist. He had a ventriloquist's dummy, and it was Ahmed the terrorist.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was what the hell was his name? I'll look it up right now. That was the kid that I got to live with me for a while. That's in the Air Force. Man, that was his favorite comedian. I'm trying to think of it right now. I'll look it up. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. I did listen. I would have liked the guy, the comedian. I actually liked him at first. But my boy, 14 years old, he plays it over and over and over and over and over. Yeah. It's like, God, my own, come to fucking set the fucking computer up, you thing there, man. Anyway, I'm gonna look it up.
No, I mean, we have reduced the amount of things that you are allowed to make fun of to such an extent due to political correctness that by now there is nothing left. There is no subject matter in which people are actually still allowed to make jokes. And
this problem. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. Go on.
Okay, so I wanted to say this problem cuts both ways in that neither we can make jokes from regressive leftists, nor can people like Antifa just use joke to defeat the supposed fascists or Nazists. So they end up using force and violence on the streets.
That's a good point. Yes, I think if you basically take wit, if you take invective out of the equation, then sooner or later, yes, you more than likely encourage fisticuffs. Yes.
The Fredder Watcher wants you to know that Jeff Dunham is the guy's name, and he does have a YouTube channel. I'll send it to you. He's funny. If you have seen him, Brett,
I have seen Ahmed the terrorist. Yes.
Yeah, he's got some other stuff too that I'll have to.
Yes, I think he has other puppets, but I think Ahmed the terrorist by far and away is the most famous one of his, isn't it?
You only get about one chance every 10 years in the United States to be able to do a puppet show. I mean it. And if it's not Howdy Doody, I look back in time and I can see it. And then other than that, so good luck to the next guy for about a decade, man. Hey, did y'all just see? In fact, MC brought it up. Mr. Warmth died the other day. I went on a binge, MC, after that live stream. I gobbled up everything he ever did. He was the greatest Jew that ever lived. He never broke character for about 20 years. 20 years. Don Rickles was the grumpiest son of a bitch that ever lived. And he never broke character.
Yeah. I still remember his skits. I love going back and taking a look at like his when he stood in for Johnny Carson and such. Some of those were just absolutely awesome. And then he broke his cigarette case, and Johnny Carson actually wandered into his live TV show and said, "What the hell is this?" right in front of everybody in the audience.
That was excellent, by the way. I just watched that. What was? Do you remember the name of that show? He played like he was a seaman or something.
Sharky.
Sharky. Yeah, he was a kind of
can't remember
ensign or something.
Something Sharky.
Mind you, I must say, when you just said the greatest ever Jew in terms of comedy, I still think that people like,
Mel Brooks,
for example, Mel Brooks, yes, but also Ephraim Kishon definitely deserves an honorable mention in that regard. Ephraim Kishon was a Jewish writer of short stories. And mainly he's sort of known on the European continent and I think also in Israel. I don't think he's been translated into English too much, but I can highly recommend him to anybody.
I don't know who the heck he is because I'm looking him up right now. I can't even spell his name right.
Some of the stuff is eye-wateringly funny.
Send me at least
write his name in the side chat here for you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, because I obviously can't even spell it correctly. No,
I'm into anybody. I wanted to apologize to everybody because.
Oh man, don't worry about it, dude.
I had an emergency work thing that came up that kind of took me a little bit aback. Took me a lot longer than I expected to. I expected to be done in just a few minutes, but that never works.
Man, there was so many people that wanted to talk to Scott. There was actually, I don't even want to say who more than, but we've had guests on and we got guests planned, and this was the most people that I personally know that were all like, we want to talk to this guy.
That's good.
You weren't actually one of them, MC, to be perfectly honest. And so when we were tossing the dice around, it was like he didn't have any burning desire in his heart. We weren't talking about blowing stuff up or interrogating people or whatever. So he didn't, he had no need to care.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
I would have had some questions for him if I could have, but
oh, he'll be back. I can almost guarantee you. I believe it or not, I think it's because he doesn't actively ask, because he said it. Someone asked, I think it was a Britisher, or someone asked, a man, I can't remember who it was. Somebody asked, how did I get him? Well, I was going for 3 people. I won't name the other 2. The Britisher knows who they are. The other 2, I'm still actively trying to just say, without being a jerk. Look at.
It sounds like you're whistling for a dog.
No. Like if that's how I would do for my friend in college, I go.
And we all know which YouTuber has dog in his avatar.
My dog, she's not even here. She wouldn't come to that. Anyway, but I sent him a thing or when was that, Brett? When did it all, we realized that it was Easter and it all went south for the deal that we had that'll be back later? I don't want to pound it in the ground, but that was like
it was
Saturday.
Pretty much something like Friday or Saturday, yes.
So, right around Saturday. I think I went to sleep Friday.
You in very, very double quick time managed to get Scott Presler.
Oh, good Lord. But again, I must say,
it was in fact me. I was the one who asked you, how on earth had you done that?
I didn't do it. I sent out 2 other people that I've been trying, and I was like, if any time, this would be the time, Karma. If I were done something good, now would be the time, and I was thinking this way. But if you follow the mythos I do, there says in our form of the I Ching, it says that, there's 1,000 ways that we wouldn't even know any of them. So I was like, man, hopefully one of these 2, not that I'd pray about something like that or anything like that. I give that advice. Don't pray about stuff like that, people. God is not a piggy bank if you believe in him. But anyway, I'm like, come on, man, doing my thing. And I thought, well, why not Scott Presler? I know this guy got his head bashed in with a stick, his friend. I'd love to have him on. I've been following him for a long time. And this is somebody that, to me, Britt, I will not lie. And I'm not kissing his butt. This is honest truth. He is up there with me, up with James Woods, as somebody that follows me, because he answers. He's not joking anytime. And I'm not encouraging people to pester him now, but if you leave something and you're not a troll, he'll answer you back. So I sent him a thing, was like, you'd like me on a show? Boom. So that was a long explanation to say it wasn't, yet again, Britisher. I have to admit, while people are still watching, I think there's 17 people looking at me and people watch this later, that it wasn't me. I was trying for 2 other people. You know what I always say? What am I going to say now, Brett? I would rather be lucky than good any day of the week.
Yeah, well, you realize that after a good deed, you get punished, right?
I didn't do no good deed. He did it for me, so I hope he don't get punished. That's a hell of a guy. I didn't do shit. All I did was shit on people for about 2 weeks. And then I tried to. I shot at and missed. I shit at and hit. And then when they shit back at me, I only got MC sends me a kick-ass little meme he made for me that I've held him. I've only tweeted that out once, by the way, MC. You don't know, at that time I was like wanting to troll out. Everybody that's smart around me was like, even you. I think everybody was like, just shut up, Ogre.
Well, the thing is with these young guys, and this is true of Twitter especially. I just had a good epiphany today about that. The Twitter medium is very good for expressing yourself instantaneously, but also emotionally. What it's not good for is a discussion. What it's not good for is to have any kind of deep, in-depth talk about how things work or what you're seeing. It's very good for saying, I just saw this, but not, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, you cannot say, you cannot possibly sort of say, well, in this case, there are 3 options, A, B, and C, because there is no way you can fit that into the characters.
Exactly. So if you're planning on having a discussion that's not emotionally based, it's almost impossible on Twitter. And unfortunately, one of the things that I've discovered is that if you put something out that's not emotionally based, it's going to be taken from an emotional context anyway.
Yeah, it's ideally suited for messages like fascist.
Communist.
I'm trying to get
You know, Red
Schmeckle in here,
Scare.
man. I wrote Schmeckle a little opener for his little deal called the cunt stream. And you'll notice, Britt, I changed the name of our stream. Did you notice that? And I tried not to use foul language tonight while Mr. Presler was here.
I'm proud of you.
I thank you, thank you. I was looking for that. I was looking for that. I feel like Niles now. I really do.
Give him a little bit of praise, and he'll never go away, Britt. Now you're gonna have to feed the ogre.
Wait, what are you saying? I'm more like the dog. I'm more like the wee dog, the Jack Handle Terrier, whatever it is. Is that what you're saying?
More like a dire wolf.
Oh, thank you. That's better. Thank you, sir.
As I wrote earlier on the side chat, the tone of the stream was much different from what it was before, and I think such diversity was very well welcomed by our audience.
Yeah, but we got to
Audience,
keep
what do you
it.
say?
We got to keep it light, keep it fresh, keep it gay.
Yeah.
You know, we got to keep it a little gay, man, and not just because I'm trying to make a double entendre, obviously, because Mr. Presler's gay. But you know, in Mel Brooks's greatest work, in my humble opinion, the producers. I mean, you know, keep it light, keep it fresh.
You're not gonna beat Blazing Saddles. I don't care what you say.
That was a good one. Hey, sit still, or the nigger gets it. You know, he's like, pulls a gun out of his head. Sit still, the nigger gets. I mean, that is the. I saw that. I was like 8 years old.
I particularly also like To Be or Not to Be. That moment where Mel Brooks is the theater manager who is dressed as Adolf Hitler, and he has to walk down that corridor, and there is the SS personal guard of Hitler's, and every sort of 2 yards or so, or 2 more of these SS giants who immediately click their heels and shout, "Heil Hitler!"
Yeah.
And at first he is absolutely terrified as he is trying to bluff his way down this corridor. And as he realizes he is getting away with it, he puts on an ever greater swagger. And in the end, he is just confidence personified as he arrives at the other end of the corridor. And he just turns around, and the next duo have just belted out "Heil Hitler." And he just turns around and does the little Hitler salute and goes, "Heil myself," and turns around and walks away.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite show tunes ever. Sig Heil myself. Sig Heil to me. I'm the crowd that's out to change the history. Anyway.
And again, comedy is the greatest tool for disarming such crazy ideologies like fascism.
Hey, I've heard it many times. We need, in fact, it was the immortal Patrice that said, we don't need comedy for stuff that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
It's really good for preventing things like that from getting too far out of control. But once it's too far out of control,
and the comedians are the first people they lock up. Yes.
Or silence in various ways.
Shoot, stand up against the wall and shoot.
Well,
that they should. I mean, that's what happens.
They just re-educate them. They put them in the mines of Mars.
Man, no, they that's true. They mess them up, man. They MK Ultra. Look at Shia LaBeouf, man. You know, Disney kid like the rest, just like Hannah Montana. You know, look at these kids, man. What do they do to these kids? You're gonna tell me that's natural? That's just a natural progression of things. What they do to these kids?
Many of them go fully bonkers.
Well,
fiddling with them, man. Fiddling with them. On our butterfly.
In all fairness, I don't think that's necessarily a fair comparison, because celebrity is almost like a drug, isn't it? And people basically get surrounded by folks who tell them how fantastic they are. And I think that is that is the ideal example. It's the perfect example almost of, you know, what I would call Shia LaBeouf syndrome.
Well, but correlation don't show causation, Britisher. But I'll say this: there's an awful lot of those Disney kids that went wacko.
Yeah, the problem is, though, is you add to that the fact that their parents are living through their children vicariously.
Wait a second, though. When you look at Hannah Montana, her dad was famous. He couldn't believe, but Mr. Cyrus was Boots Boogie or whatever his name was. You know, he couldn't believe it, though. I mean, is all I'm saying. And yes, I mean, whatever. Britt, I didn't mean to like hammer you off, but to me, it seemed, yes. But you have people like, I mean, I could name 1,000. You've got a lot of people that were like Drew Barrymore. She was an alcoholic when she was 6 years old, but she went through that. Now she's just a famous old lady that kicks ass. You can look at it from all different angles, but these certain kids, just like certain news anchors, like a certain gay dude that's got bleached blonde hair on CNN, you know, that are part of Project Mockingbird, whether you like it or not.
Isn't it kind of, in that regard, the fact that the world has changed, so that once upon a time, if you were Mickey Rooney or Elizabeth Taylor or whatever, then you were expected to be a celebrity, but you were expected to be a celebrity within the realm of entertainment. It wasn't expected of you that you had an opinion on every single aspect in the world, including politics and warfare and whatever. Whereas now, celebrities are suddenly being approached from all angles and expected to have an opinion on everything.
Well, but I think that in the United States anyway, the reason for that has to do with the civil rights movement and the fact that so many African Americans, the only place that they had a platform that was uniquely theirs was somewhere within the sports community, and it just kind of bled, I think, into the celebrity community.
I think that this is maybe how it started, but right now it's kind of self-perpetuating thing, and basically I see it as connected to mainstream media. Media loves celebrities because it's a very easy talking point. You just call one, set up an interview, and presto, you're done. You don't have to go to some dangerous place and do actual news reporting.
True, when you instantly also get their audience. So basically, people who follow them diligently will immediately come to your channel.
That's a very good point, actually. So yeah, I think the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement coming together in the United States, where you had the black empowerment movement, all right, raising, I mean, even back to the Tokyo Olympics, where I think it was the Tokyo Olympics in '68, where they were holding their fists up, you know, the Black Power stance.
The Black Power salute, yeah.
I think that's where some of those walls became broken down, and I remember reading one time about people at that time frame were all over Elvis Presley, asking him about his political attitude toward things, and one of his most famous responses was, "Ma'am, I'm just an entertainer," and he walked away, right? But unfortunately, other people are,
Precisely,
felt
but
that they didn't give their opinion.
That was still in that era where you were expected to be an entertainer. And you know, people would not normally approach you to ask you about what you thought about third world debt or something like that. Whereas now, Miley Cyrus or whoever else is suddenly expected to have an opinion on that.
Do you think that the fact that they're having opinions, that's the part that changed, or do you think that the expectation of getting an opinion from them is what has actually changed?
I think it is the expectation that has changed, and that has basically placed them in a position where they suddenly feel that their views on everything are suddenly taken, are suddenly important. And I think that lends itself to their sense of self-importance.
Yeah, let's not forget how all the recent ceremonies of awards were, well, basically political agenda driven.
Yeah, precisely. And in the end, you've just got the feeling, well, okay, so you've played some crying woman in a film, or you've had a hit with a pop song. What does that mean that you know anything about these particular subjects?
Well,
very often you would be well advised just to keep your mouth shut.
Well, that's very true.
I mean, who
was the actress that played a farmer? She was just in the news. She's very anti-Trump.
That's pretty much all of them.
Well, I know that's the problem. Kind of blondish, long, thin hair.
Chat, please help us out. Say again, actress again.
This isn't Meryl Streep, is it?
Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep played a farmer wife. And next thing you know, she's in front of Congress talking about what it's like to be on a farm. And I'm thinking to myself, when the hell were you ever on a farm? I mean, I grew up on a farm. Do you really have any freaking clue what the hell you're talking about? How the hell do you get on a committee, get called up to a committee to represent farmers?
I think her manicure could be worth more than a stretch of farm. So basically, no way she would.
The cost of a farm is, especially
with
where I grew up.
craft services. Bring anyway. I had to run back here when I heard that farm. Anyway, what were you saying?
How represented
Farmer
do you feel by
Streep?
Meryl Streep?
Not at all, man. Give me a break. She couldn't follow me around on a normal day. If I was doing a stream, which I'm doing today, after doing what I did earlier today with mi manos, dos manos, in the soil, like a Mexican or whatever else that does it like me, like an animal. Hey, I don't think she could do it. That's all I'm saying. Plus cleaning up chicken dung. No.
Shout outs to Falcon, who wants us to not forget crop dusting.
I thought I sent Falcon a thing, man. I'm trying to send all the after show because I'm about ready to be done, man. The British, I can't believe he's still here. He's like, I really think, what is your philosophy, Britt, that you'll sleep when you die? Like the king?
Along those lines, yeah. But I think
what he always says.
We might have sort of reached a natural conclusion of this anyway, to some extent, don't we?
Yeah, I'm naturally concluding myself.
Yeah, I think
I'm
so.
over it. Yeah, it's been fun. Well, boys, I don't know what else to say. It's been really good. I'm probably going to cut off here. I don't have anybody to plug except for the Britisher. If you haven't already seen it, I'm going to pop up his channel real quick in closing and give the link out here. If you haven't seen it and you're here, I kind of doubt it. But I'm going to do it anyway because he's kind of my cohort. I would say we're fellow Praetorians in this new insanity of social justice warriorism and every other ism that comes along, and now Antifa. What, can I say one thing, Britt, before we go?
When
I'm
will
sure
it
you've
become
seen
Antifa-ism?
Antifa-ism. It already is. I think we talked about it tonight. Didn't you see the woman getting punched? How do you feel as a British man, conservative? If you watch the whole video, she hits him first. She strikes him in the throat, and he's rushing forward now. Don't get me wrong, but she strikes him in the throat, and instantly isn't that like dollar for dollar pay kind of deal? Isn't that like equal pay for equal work kind of deal there, or what?
Well, it's, you know, in one way you sort of grin, but at the next moment you also sort of think, well, you know, has it really come to this? It is just basically, folks, you know, a little civility on all sides would go a long way. Because, yeah, that was a 5-foot woman being knocked out there.
Well, she didn't get knocked out. She got knocked down.
But knocked down anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. No. In fact, I won't press you anymore. I appreciate that final word. And that said, I'm just got caught up in what he was saying, folks, because I often do that. He has some wonderful opinions. So I'm just now sending this out to you all. And have a wonderful night. I'd just like to thank Mr. Presler once again, even though he's not here to hear it. He may come back and look at this later. If you do, young Mr. Presler, stay on the path that you're on. Do what you feel is right and take it from an old ogre that's made many a mistake. Don't do like Andy Kaufman has done. Don't get lost in the part. Keep your head about you. If you see Trump doing something wrong, hear the Britishers' words echoing down from the hallowed halls of wisdom all the way back to antiquity. Do what's right. Do what you know. If someone does wrong and you've supported them, it doesn't make you a lesser man if you point out that that man has failed in this aspect. That said, I agree with you, sir. Trump's done a wonderful job. What a great 100 days. I hope more goods to come. He did say he'd bomb the shit out of them. And if I remember correctly, the media was up in arms because he dropped the mother of all bombs. So look, folks, on that horrible note, be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, there's no way on God's earth that you'll be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, in a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and your president will depart from you. Hey,